Like, there are different schools of thought on this. It's not like people just made.
I feel like the 14th Amendment case clearly shows a stray from originalism, even.
True.
This is all realism. This is all realism.
I understand. Let's say I agree with all that. Okay, let's say I agree with all that. Okay, that's fine.
Then they say
I grant all that. Okay, Soleimani, you agree that the president had the ability to do that beyond criminal review, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Let's say that you wait to assassinate Soleimani until he's hanging out with Obama. Why would this suddenly be allowed to be reviewable by a court? Wouldn't it be the exact same thing?
Why is that more court exclusive than the president's role in commander-in-chief in conducting wars?
Do we pass a law?
Yeah, okay, I don't even know if he's saying. In my mind, if you're saying, well, they can't like legislate the DOJ's ability to send fake letters, and I don't know why they would be able to legislate if you have a good enough reason to drone strike someone. Jeffrey Clark, who I would say pretty blatantly engaged in conspiracy to defraud the United States. Jeffrey Clark can't even be prosecuted now because it's unreviewable. His actions are unreviewable because they took place within the context of the conclusive and preclusive authority of the president, right?
I don't think it'll actually happen, but Republicans play this very clever game of saying that if Democrats do a thing, it'll destroy an institution when that institution is already like basically destroyed. I think right now the issue that we have is that there is absolutely no reason in the United States of America that you should expect that a Republican-led Senate will ever allow a Democrat to appoint a Supreme Court justice ever again. There's just no reason to think that. So if that is the case, then Democrats should go nuclear and say, we are going to enforce a rule that makes it so the Senate can't do this, or else we're just going to pack the court. And the counter of, well, you're going to destroy the institution of the Supreme Court has already been effectively destroyed. If Republicans aren't willing to allow Democrat presidents to appoint Supreme Court justices, that is a direct violation of what the Constitution explicitly spells out for the President of the United States, for the Supreme Court, and for the Senate.
He keeps using such extreme language. I understand the concern there with court packing, but yeah, Destiny's point is that right now we don't have any good reason to believe that Republicans would ever let a Democratic president appoint a Supreme Court justice, so it's already effectively been destroyed. But also, like, historically, I don't think court packing has been that big of a deal. I skimmed through some of this. Like, it seems like we've done okay with it before.
Recently, I DM'd you and talked to you a little bit about court packing. I asked your opinion on it, and you told me that you were okay with court packing if Republicans refused to pass an amendment or a bill that limited or changed how. By the way,
I'm coming into this neutral, okay? I don't really have an opinion on court packing. I think it is kind of wild the way the Republicans played the two. God, I forget all the specifics. Hopefully, I think they talk about it in the debate. The one court pick that Obama was supposed to have, and then the Republicans just never held a hearing, and then later on they did nominate someone in Trump's final year, which they refused to do for Obama. That was kind of crazy, but I'm coming into this neutral. Okay, we'll see.
Supreme Court picks and nominees were handled. Can you start us off by just elaborating on what you mean by that?
So why is he quiet?
Yeah, we should codify that. I bet it would be a bill. I don't even think you need to amend the Constitution. You should codify that it's a requirement that a president in office has a right to have their nomination at least heard in the Senate. That should be a thing. There should be rules that are made or whatever that within 7 days of a nomination or whatever, the Senate has to do
Obama's third
hearing,
time,
or 30 days or whatever is reasonable.
Sure, and if they don't do that, to be clear, if Republicans do not pass that bill, pass that amendment, whatever it's needed, then you would
Dems should add as many Supreme Court justices that they need to the court to make that a reality. Whatever they need to do. So 2, 5, 20, whatever the fuck, they should just do that.
Fair enough. And with that, let's get into it. I'm going to pass the mic to Lactoid. Tell us what you think, and then we'll just kind of go talk about it. Introduce yourself as well. Tell people who you are, why you're qualified to talk about this. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm Lactoid. I'm a streamer. You can find me at LactoidTV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm also a lawyer, and I'm heavily against court packing. I think it's absolutely a nuclear option by any definition of the term. My position is that court packing essentially obliterates the third branch of government as a functioning entity, and therefore is a threat to our republic, and it simply should not be on the table. I'm not necessarily opposed to. Why
the fuck did that happen? I feel like there are negatives to court packing. I feel like he's being a little extreme though. Like, we haven't always. I'm pretty sure we've done court packing historically, right? There's that, like, because I know there's no rule that there actually has to be 9 justices on the Supreme Court. We've had more than 9 justices before. You can have as many or as little as you want. I'm pretty sure historically, if we look at it, presidents have packed the court to some extent, and it's not been that big of a deal.
For Supreme Court justices, I think is a critical defect in the Constitution that needs to be corrected.
Steven says, okay.
Without that correction, I'm concerned that the court might just turn into a rubber stamp for the president and Congress to essentially, they can get done anything they want to, and really, again, obliterate, I think, the purpose of the Constitution. And on top of that, we have a candidate for president right now, Kamala Harris, who has made references in the past to being open to court packing, which I think, unfortunately, makes her a threat to our republic, too.
Okay.
Can I really, really, really quick? Can I run and use the restroom real quick? Is that okay?
No. Pee where you stand. No, go ahead. You don't have to ask permission. Go.
Well, I mean, if everybody just talks, I'm not here to hear it. Like,
Yes,
one second.
well, I'll entertain the audience while you're gone. Okay, it's no longer people watching on Destiny's end. This is no longer Destiny stream. It's a Wick stream. So be prepared. Hold on to your britches, gang. We're gonna get spicy in here. We're gonna go. So rather than have everyone else just give their opinion while Destiny doesn't listen, I'm going to filibuster a little bit until he gets back. So that's what we're gonna do.
Okay. Oh my God.
In a hood.
Is a schizo tier 5.
What is it to it? We filibustered long enough. Okay, so we heard Lactoid's thoughts. Let's give the mic to Zetsue and see what he has to say. Go.
5 DGGer, and also an attorney, but that's less impressive. I actually agree with Destiny that, at least on the position of saying that rule should be in place, I would actually say that it was unconstitutional for them not to hold the hearing. The implication of it being you have to get the advice and consent of the Senate, but they can just withhold it internally, I don't think was ever in the original meaning of the Constitution. But in terms of court packing, I don't think that's it's a nuclear option that I think exceeds what you should really do if you don't get the amendment or if you don't get an action from Congress. And not only that, if you have the power to pack the courts, you probably have the power to also just get that through. So I'm not certain where you get the power to do one but not the other.
Okay, well, thanks for being here. We'll see how it goes. Ryan Mullally, is that how you say your last name?
Mullally, yeah.
Mullally.
So I'm Ryan. I'm a lawyer. I'm not a streamer, but I'm on X, so you can follow me. I occasionally say interesting things. Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things about this conversation is that Destiny's proposal is flatly more reasonable than the Biden-Harris proposals, which is an interesting state of affairs to be in, where the streamer has the more reasonable take. But in any event, strongly opposed to court packing, and it's an empty threat. If you look at when FDR threatened court packing, and that had a real impact, he had 72 senators. So the court did take notice when he threatened court packing, and that did have an impact. It's not a realistic threat.
I'm curious to see how he defends that. I think Biden's proposal was he wanted a constitutional amendment to basically reverse the criminal immunity decision, and he wanted term limits on the Supreme Court. I think there's something else. Oh, binding code of ethics. Yeah, binding code of ethics seems totally reasonable. Term limits seems probably good. I think the constitutional amendment. I guess if you like the way the court ruling went, then I understand why you have an issue with this. But I think that's definitely a good thing. But
today, I don't think, and if it is a realistic threat, it's going to be because of a continual erosion of Senate rules, where we used to have a 60 seats filibuster for every judicial nomination, including Supreme Court nominations, and we used to have a lot of other protections that would prevent things. I assume that what Destiny's talk is referring to as the Garland nomination process, that were a check against things like that. And I feel like a constitutional amendment is like using a blowtorch on a mosquito. And what we really need to do is try to fight our way out of this era of political reprisals back to the point where soft rules were able to control the decorum of these important issues so that we're not backing ourselves into corners with unintended consequences.
Okay.
Damn, if only the Republicans listen to the soft rules.
Yeah, so I guess as not a lawyer, but I have my background in political science and religion. I can't speak to all the legalese, but what I can speak to is, this seems idiotic, really. I don't know Destiny's specific opinion on court reform, but to me, I think court reform is bad in general. I mean, I heard there are people here today, there's a lot of lawyers that like definition debate, so I went and pulled one for y'all today from Merriam-Webster. It's moron. A stupid person, a person of having low intelligence or intellectual disability. Here, so let me use that in a sense.
Fire open.
You have to be either a moron or a product of the needs of participation trophy generation to believe that court packing is a good idea, or any sort of court reform pushed by the Democrats is a remotely good idea. The Supreme Court is working as intended. According to many political scientists, the 3 distinct branches of the United States government established by the U.S. Constitution is designed to be purposely slow but effective when needed. I'd argue that the Supreme Court is working as intended. This is clearly an attempt by the Democrats who've been outmaneuvered fairly in regards to the Supreme Court to take their proverbial ball and go home. They can't get to get their radical left agenda past the staunch bulwark of based or originalism that is
the radical left agenda is when you interpret the 14th Amendment in the obviously correct way and don't write a bullshit exception for Trump in a I don't want to say fraudulent 9-0 decision. I'll say in a 9-0 decision, obviously in a attempt to avoid political division, to put it nicely. The 14 minutes part of the radical left agenda.
And so what they want to do is flip the rules, flip the table, screech, and insult, and then change the rules to a game they're guaranteed to win. It's honestly pathetic. So let me show y'all something. This is what it sounds like when we talk about court reform to the average person. This is the world's smallest violin playing My Heart Cries for You, and that's what's happening right now.
And with that, let's open it up to discussion. So again, Biden has recently put forth a proposal that would do
God, this shit is going to flood again. I'm not good at this game. Chat.
Make sure that presidents are not immune to being prosecuted for crimes done while in office, to propose term limits, and there was a third thing that I had written down, but I
binding code of ethics.
A code of ethics. Thank you. Destiny, do you support that?
I think broadly speaking, all three things I would broadly support. I don't know the specifics of any suggestion, though, so there could be in the weeds we would miss things. But the idea of anybody in the United States enjoying criminal immunity is obviously absurd. I don't know what Roberts and the rest of the supposedly conservative court were smoking when they came out with that decision. I think that the idea of an ethics restraint or constraint on the Supreme Court is obviously important. The whole reason why they have lifetime appointments is so that they aren't politically influenced, and if they can take bribes and gifts, that kind of defeats the entire purpose of that. And I feel like term limiting Supreme Court justices would probably be fair because
technically there is a that you can't impeach Supreme Court justices. It's just that the Constitution, I'm pretty sure the word the Constitution actually uses is bad behavior, which is not very well defined.
It seems kind of weird that we have like a Supreme Court lottery right now where you could get lucky and have 2 or 3 picks, and you could get unlucky and have no picks.
Limits are unconstitutional. You would need an amendment to have it happen. There's no chance of an amendment, so who cares? The same ditto with the immunity decision. If you want to get into that, I can talk about why it's a fine decision. But if you want a constitutional amendment to fix it, good luck. There's a 0% chance of that happening. The ethics code is the closest. They have one now, but it's not enforceable. And the reason it's not enforceable is who's going to enforce it. And if you were going to create a situation where you have Supreme Court justices essentially ratting on each other, I think that's going to make it even more partisan and more horrible than it's really become, where we've had unprecedented levels of nastiness and opinions. And it seems like there's some real tension in the court. So I don't see how that makes things better, though maybe there's some clever proposal. And of course, ultimately, the way that you enforce the code of ethics on the Supreme Court is impeachment. But again, there is not a clear political majority with the power to do something like that. So this is all kind of, I don't know. It sounds like pie in the sky theater to me at best.
I also want to add with the term limits, I think one concern that was brought to my attention somewhat recently, actually, that I didn't consider, is that if we implement term limits, I think there is a heightened concern for corruption, right? Because there could be certain justices, for example, where their term is running out, and perhaps they have there's going to be certain parties in front of them that they may have an interest in being affiliated with after their term is over. So a lifetime appointment, I think, at least minimizes this risk, which I think is a good thing. So I'm against that. I think a lifetime appointment is fine. In terms of code of ethics, I think it entirely depends on what the code of ethics is. I agree that it needs to be an amendment, but I mean, there could be a reasonable code of ethics that I could agree to, but it entirely depends what it's made of, what it is and what it's made out of.
How it's enforced.
We talked about,
I'm not sure how you do that.
Sure, we talked a little bit about court packing being a threat. Given that, as Ryan here
What's
said,
good,
a
new
lot
to
of
the
these
stream,
don't seem to be starters politically. How serious of a threat do we think court packing is?
Sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, welcome to the stream. I'm from Serbia. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're just reacting to some shit I got to react to today about court reform in the U.S. I don't know if you know much about
Kamala's threatening it. Do you think she'll actually do it or be able to do it? I don't know.
I don't think it'll actually happen, but Republicans play this very clever game of saying that if Democrats do a thing, it'll destroy an institution when that institution is already basically destroyed. I think right now the issue that we have is that there is absolutely no reason in the United States of America that you should expect that a Republican-led Senate will ever allow a Democrat to appoint a Supreme Court justice ever again. There's just no reason to think that. So if that is the case, then Democrats should go nuclear and say, we are going to enforce a rule that makes it so the Senate can't do this, or else we're just going to pack the court. And the counter of, well, you're going to destroy the institution of the Supreme Court has already been effectively destroyed if Republicans aren't willing to allow Democrat presidents to appoint Supreme Court justices. That is a direct violation of what the Constitution explicitly spells out for the President of the United States, for the Supreme Court, and for the Senate.
Hold on. They appointed one, right?
Well, Barack Obama wasn't allowed to appoint one in the last.
But it wasn't
about
Biden.
It wasn't confirmed.
Justice Jackson.
Oh, sure, but I mean, maybe because they got their Garland pick, or maybe because they had 3 other ones that were already appointed. But like, we have no guarantee right now that another.
So you're complaining that they're just not skilled enough. This is a skill issue, is what you're saying. They're just not good enough at like following their own rules.
Also, wait, I'm sorry. Hold on, wait. I'm so sorry. That was a Democratic Senate. Also, sorry, my bad.
Well, did they all vote no against? You're saying they all vote no?
What I'm saying that if there's a majority-led Senate by the Republicans, like it was under McConnell, when McConnell said he wasn't going to let Obama do anything, there's no reason to assume that a Democrat will not be able to appoint another Supreme Court.
Viewer. You're not my only viewer, bro. Maybe you are on YouTube, but
why do you say skill issue? There's no way you can overcome that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called, make compromise, make agreements, backroom dealing, politics, isn't Jim?
There is no politics here. It's an explicit power to the president that you should be allowed to, with the advice of the Senate, appoint a Supreme Court justice. There is no wheeling and dealing here.
He is right. I mean, the thing is that there's nowhere in it that says that you just can ignore it. And has that ever happened? Does anyone have a history of, oh yeah, no, there's plenty of times where the Senate just ignores their job and we're just okay with it. I'm not aware of it. Like, that's one thing I can't find.
No, this has happened a few times in the past, just so we're clear, right? Like, it's not, I don't disagree that it's a problem, and I am against it. I would like to see an amendment codify some kind of process specifically that, within a certain amount of time, a justice is heard. I'm fine with that. But there has been multiple instances in the past where they've essentially refused to hear a specific nominee. So it has happened in the past. I don't know. If we can agree on that amendment, but I guess the question is, so sure, that's fine. Why court pack? Why threaten to, I think, obliterate our third branch of government? Because
it's already obliterated.
No, it's not already obliterated. For multiple reasons. First of all, you guys the Democrats do have a.
I don't even. Again, he's using such hard language. Back on vertical stream based, welcome vert gang based for life. Anyway, he keeps using such extreme language. I understand the concern there with court packing, but yeah, one Destiny's point is that right now, we don't have any good reason to believe that Republicans would ever let a Democratic president appoint a Supreme Court justice, so it's already effectively been destroyed. But also, like, historically, I don't think court packing has been that big of a deal. I skimmed through some of this. Like, it seems like we've done okay with it before.
Justice that they were able to get through Biden. And on top of that, there's a not all justices are created equal here, right? There are justices that I think are, come from the originalist rule of law point of view, and then you have justices that really don't believe in the rule of law. And so, while I agree that we should be, making sure things are fair going forward, I think we have one of the best Supreme Courts that we've ever had currently.
You should play Terraria. I'm not really that into Terraria, but it is yeah.
Consistency.
Not anymore. I used to be when I was like 11 years old.
First of all, I don't even know what that, when we say originalist, I don't even know what that means in regards to this court. This court is far from originalist. And then secondly, it doesn't matter if you got one pick. The fact is that a Democratic president with a Republican-led Senate was deprived to pick by a Republican Senate that explicitly said, we're not going to let this guy do anything. Why would we ever assume that it wouldn't be the same going forward? Like, what guarantee would a Democratic president have?
You think that's going to happen if it was like the first week of a presidency as opposed to like the last year or the last month or two?
Last year, sure, why not?
Well, I'm asking what you're saying, because you're saying ever.
Yeah, could.
Okay, so you think like week 2, Harris has to fill a vacancy. You don't think that she's even going to get a hearing?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Nobody
would have thought that Obama would have, like, I can't tell you for sure 100% because it hasn't happened yet, but nobody would have thought that Obama would have lost out on a whole year of the presidency for having Merrick Garland was the longest Supreme Court vacancy where the Senate refused to hear a person ever.
Okay, so the Democrats have majority in the Senate right now. Yep. So why don't they just make a Senate procedural rule that says, in the event of a Supreme Court vacancy,
can it be filibustered? I would imagine.
Committee, whatever it's called, that runs that process will promptly and in no more than 30
Nonfon
days
streaming.
give their recommendation and hold a vote.
Well, if it's a simple Senate rule, couldn't the Republican Senate just repeal the rule?
Of course, but I mean, if the goal here, and I hope this is the goal here, is to return to a point where we're not testing all the guardrails constantly, and we're trying to actually create systems that function and work. They could do that tomorrow if they wanted to. It wouldn't be a good electoral issue to run on, and it wouldn't be like a sexy issue, but they could do it. And then if the Republicans dismantle it later, that you would have a great point about, we can never trust them again. But I mean, it seems like there's a fix on the table for them right now.
I don't understand what it should be a law. It shouldn't be something that should be easy to get rid of. And it should be, I don't even think you need an amendment to do this. It would just be, this is in the Constitution.
No, you wouldn't need an amendment for that. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think you don't even need a law. This could easily be a procedural rule. I mean,
but I wouldn't want a procedure that can easily be rescinded with a 51 vote majority, because then there's no point in having it. At that point, it's just.
Well, okay, anything less than an amendment you wouldn't accept?
No, I think you can probably have a law for this, because I'm pretty sure this is constitutional. Like, this is just, it's spelled out in the Constitution that the president ought to have this power. It's not like you're doing anything like that would require a constitutional change, I don't think.
So I guess what I'm getting at is that there are kind of like these guardrails that were built into Senate procedure that were intended to force it to be a chamber that kind of that works together and is in some way collegial. The 60-seat filibuster was a version of this, right? Where it's like, well, you kind of have to compromise because even if you have a slim majority, you can't just slam things through. And a lot of Senate rules work like that. I think we're finding to our displeasure that it works better when the Senate does work that way. And to me, the only way that you're going to fix that is for the party in power voluntarily take a step that lessens their power.
Because that's never going to happen with conservatives, and the Democrats shouldn't do it anymore. It's absolutely absurd to expect a Democrat anything to do it when Republicans have constantly abused their power. They are constantly only in power because of the way that land is allowed to vote, the structure of the Electoral College. They enjoy very broad systemic power built into the Constitution. So no, I don't think a Democrat should step back. We've already lost the Supreme Court justice, and now we've had these ridiculously insane Supreme Court rulings as a result of the 6-3 or 5.5, 3.5 court. Like, no, that's absurd. No, a Democrat shouldn't be the one to step back. We should make a new rule in the Senate that should be passed by law, not something you just rescind with a simple 51 vote majority, and anybody that opposes it, fuck them. And if it's Republicans that oppose it, then just pack the court, because the court's already
but that's the sour grapes right there, right? Because that's the problem. You say like, oh, well, we have to do it right now, and it has to be this way, and they're making these ridiculous rulings. Then it just sounds like, well, we don't like how it's going, so we're going to knock over the board and make new rules.
That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly
true.
If you don't have the power and then you want to kick the board over, it just seems like you're losing.
Well, we have the power right now, right? The Democrats do.
Yeah, but you don't want to do what I suggested. You don't want to voluntarily step back on power. That's what you just said.
Hey, what do you mean step? How is this no, I'm just saying that I don't know how any sane human being could say it's a bad idea to make a law that says that the Senate has to hear a Supreme Court nomination within, 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. How could you ever oppose that? That's not even favoring one side. That's just...
Yeah, I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, I don't think, hold on, just to be clear, I don't think anyone... maybe Gibbs, but most of us don't oppose that. The founders were that smart. What the issue at hand is, if for whatever reason this doesn't go through, then we are okay with court packing and other quote unquote nuclear options in order to make sure that it is our way or the highway.
To it, not because I think everyone here would support that. And so then if they try and say no on it, you can use it as a political tool to try and gain the power to actually pass the law. That'd all be fine. But when you're saying like, I'm going to pack the court if you don't, or because what you're saying, you think it's already obliterated. You're saying that because of Garland, you think
if you're the kind of person to say no on this, right? Like imagine if we were imagine if we were husband and we were making a rule in our house, and I said, hey, I just want to propose a rule, by the way, let's vote on this. It says we're not allowed to poison our partner's food, and you vote no on that. I'm killing you that night. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would you ever vote no on something like that? If the Republicans are like, actually, no, we're not going to guarantee this. Okay, well, my assumption is going to be because you want to use this as political leverage somehow in the future. I don't think we should play that game. I don't think it's right that you can deprive a constitutionally allotted power to the president for political reasons. That's insane. That should be a very easy law that every single person in Congress should support.
I agree, and so should all the other ones regarding like interracial marriage should have been passed as a law. All the other substantive due process things, those should have been easy things that you could have passed, and yet those.
Oh, but substantive due process. This is much more complicated than a very simple Article 2 power that is very simply allotted to the president. The president is allowed, with the advice and consent of the Senate, to appoint people to the Supreme Court. It's very, very simple, very constitutional, very easy.
I agree. I think it's unconstitutional that they didn't. In contracts, there's a thing called the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. That there's that when a rule says like you will give me your advice and consent, the idea isn't haha, I tricked you. As long as I never give it to you, you lose. There's an implied there that you will actually consider and give an answer. And so the thing is, I would say that, yes, it was unconstitutional for them to just refuse to hold the hearing. In fact, it's worse than that, because even their statement of saying like the whole Thurman rule, they're like, oh, well, let's let the people vote. If Hillary had won, they would have just like immediately put Garland on the court. They said under like for fear they go, oh, she might put up someone more liberal. They were like, so it wasn't even they were opposed to Garland. They were literally just, it was purely a power play. Like, bold face. And so, like, you're pissed. I think that's reasonable. I'm just saying, like, you seem to be going nuclear. I'm just saying I don't think the nuke is the right response. In the same sense, if someone said that they won't vote on poisoning you, we're married, and I say, no, I'm not going to vote poison you. You stab me. I don't think that was the right response. Leaving would be a good response, or not eating any food I made, but stabbing the person
leave, and we can't not participate in government. Like, why would we, if you were a Democrat, why would you ever assume that a Republican is going to let you have another Supreme Court pick, ever?
Why isn't the threat like for like? Why isn't the threat, well, unless we pass this amendment, if we're in a similar position, we're going to deny you guys a pick too.
They almost were.
As opposed to a situation of we're going to implement a system where we're going to pack the court, where we're going to completely obliterate the legitimacy entirely, right? Because you just put 20 people, like you said before, 20 people that will just rubber stamp anything that you anything that you put forward, and then you're going to have the next administration do that, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and now we have Congress and the president. That's what we have now. We don't have a court anymore, right? At least now we have a court.
And barely, maybe, but some people would argue maybe we don't. Yeah, some people would argue that some of the decisions that have come out might have been different if Obama would have been allowed to have his Supreme Court pick. Right, we're sitting on a 6-3 conservative.
Yeah, they would have been more politically motivated as opposed to like actually constitutionally
more politically
as opposed
motivated,
to people like
really?
Thomas or Roberts who aren't politically motivated at all, or Kavanaugh who's not politically motivated at all.
So
what does that even mean?
The concept about originalism is you're trying to minimize like political hackery, right? The point is that you're interpreting the law as it was written, and that's what these justices profess to do. And they've been doing, I think, a relatively good job at it prior courts, right? I mean, the Dobbs decision, which was, I mean, people have been shitting on Roe versus Wade for how
Justice Thomas can't he can't just say that like he like wrote his concurring opinion, writing about why special counsels are illegal. when that issue is not before the court. You know, he can't. I guess maybe he's purporting that has something to do with originalism, but I think it's more likely that when he's doing that, he's probably just is signaling support for Trump. That's probably what he's doing. I feel kind of like the U.S. is like 10 years ahead of every other country, both economically and socially. Economically, we're crushing these other countries. Okay, all the Euro countries that did their stupid ass austerity in 2008 and never recovered, and then during COVID didn't do as big of bailouts. Some of them did, but yeah, but we're beating the fuck out of them. Hell yeah.
Constitutionally suspect for having no basis, and then this is the court that actually has like the gall to do the right thing
socially. We're doing pretty good
and overturn it. Right. This is, I think, one of the most principled courts we've ever had. One of the most
principled things they could have done with the most politically charged Republican issue in the history of the.
This is the funniest. Dude, our recovery from 2008 was not even fast, and like compared to Europe and Japan, it's absolutely. Oh man!
Fucking last like 70 years, the United States was abortion. Interesting. Wow, what an originalist court that they took that brave decision and overturned it. How would you defend something like the immunity ruling?
Oh, sorry. What
politically charged?
Did mention?
One of the most principled courts we've ever had. One of the most principled
things that they could have done with the most politically charged Republican issue in the history of the fucking last like 70 years, the United States was abortion. Interesting. Wow, what an originalist court that they took that brave decision and overturned it. How would you defend something like the immunity ruling?
Bernie Sanders was even fucking shitting on Roe versus Wade. We have people who Justice Ginsburg, you have people who support abortion that were like admitting, yeah, this case is terrible, because the case is terrible. This concept of like the same people who ratified, the 14th Amendment, then went on to like ban abortion, that somehow they intended the penumbra of privacy within the 14th Amendment to apply to abortion. It completely pulled out of the ass. And this was one of the more principled courts to actually overrule that. Like I think that's a testament to how principled this court is. And the immunity decision is not as I know that you don't like it, and yes, because it's Roberts wrote it as opposed to Alito. There's some issues with it. Sure, I wish that I would have done it differently, but that doesn't come out of nowhere. There actually is a basis here in the separation of powers to have presidential immunity, right? There is a basis there. It's not completely ridiculous.
It is completely ridiculous.
No, just like you can't have, the judiciary go after the president outside of the realm of the Constitution, and you can't have the president go after Congress outside of the realm of the Constitution. Like, there are certain constitutional powers granted to the president that you don't get to touch using congressional action, right? It makes sense.
I mean, here's a couple things. First of all, what you said about the 14th Amendment and the intention of the 14th Amendment is not really relevant. The idea that because the 14th Amendment happens and then 100 years later you get Roe v. Wade, that doesn't matter, right? Like, are we going to say that Brown v. Board was a bad decision because the people who passed the 14th Amendment wouldn't have thought that 90 years later all of a sudden we're going to desegregate schools? Like, that's not how constitutional law works. You don't look at like, well, what were all of the potential unforeseeable things that could have. You read the letter of the law, you look at the history of when it was implemented, and then you try to figure out like what it meant, and then you go from there. You don't have to, like, if a law isn't passed immediately after an amendment, you don't have to say 90 years later, oh well, that original framing of this amendment wouldn't matter. As long as it's clear.
When you said like you try to figure out what it meant, what do you mean by that?
As in I don't know how to make that any simpler. As in, when the framers passed this law, what was the law supposed to do?
Exactly. What was the intent of it, right? Yes, that is originalism. Yes.
What is the intent of what? Yeah, but what does that have to do with what you just said? That like, how could the 14th Amendment ever have allowed for Roe v. Wade?
Right, because the drafters of the 14th Amendment, or immediately after the Civil War, went on, like you look at the timeline of abortion being legalized in the United States, it was the same, government, the same people that passed the 14th Amendment that were also banning abortion in the States. And then we have Roe versus Wade, 100 years later, and they're saying, well, actually, the 14th Amendment protects the right to it, like the penumbra of privacy. 14th Amendment being a big part of that.
It's an implied
that
right.
Protects the right of abortion.
So then would you argue
which makes no fucking sense. It also doesn't make sense that like estrogen and progesterone are somehow like, and Thomas was the only one brave enough to even challenge this, that estrogen and progesterone are somehow also covered by privacy, but fentanyl and cocaine are not. That doesn't make any sense.
Would you argue that Brown then was poorly decided, that should be overturned because how like the 14th Amendment people didn't have anything to say about desegregation at the time?
I think there's issues with Brown versus Board of Education. I would support a law. I would absolutely support a law, but constitutionally speaking, I think it's suspect. Not nearly as much as Roe versus Wade, but yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I mean, definitely more broadly speaking, like, there's two dominant schools of constitutional theory, right? There's originalism and there's living constitutionalists. You can break it down into a million subdivisions, but there are two versions of this. And I think that if we're getting to the point where we're going to say that the other side isn't just wrong, but unreasonable for having that school of interpretation, I don't know how we move forward in a kind of rule of law based society. Like, there are different schools of thought on this. It's not like people just made.
I feel like the 14th Amendment case clearly shows a stray from originalism, even because it seems like from my understanding of it that just by reading the laws, oh god, only giving Congress the power to remove the disqualification from the 14th Amendment, right? You can be disqualified for insurrection, Section 3. Only giving Congress the power to remove the disqualification, and importantly, by 2/3 majority. That seems like it implies that it's self-executing, especially because if it takes a 2/3 majority to remove the disqualification, but it's not self-executing, that would mean it takes a simple majority to actually add the it would take a simple majority to actually add the disqualification, and therefore it would also take a simple majority to remove the disqualification. That decision seems to fly in the face of any constitutional originalism there.
Ended up last Tuesday. There's like boatloads of law review articles and constitutional theory. This is one of the most written about things in all of American jurisprudence, right? So I don't know that we can get to the point where we're saying, well, just because people are originalists, they're crazy and unreasonable and they're making terrible decisions. That those are kind of the two buckets, right?
Well, no, people say this, but the dichotomy is far blurrier than people give it credit for. For instance, like the originalism argument that the conservatives on this court are somehow originalists. Any originalist argument is completely lacking in like the immunity ruling. There's no foundation in historical.
Thank you. Okay, good. He's gonna say what? No, he mentioned the immunity ruling, which I feel like is also probably strays from originalism. But yeah.
Or anything relating to support that. That's like a brand new, like Roberts crafted everything brand new. This idea of presumptive immunity, of criminal immunity, all of that was just fabricated in that ruling. There's no historical basis for any of it.
How do you figure that? How do you figure that?
How do I figure it? Well, the fact that there is no, how do I figure a negative? There is no historical basis for
what are debating. They're going over Supreme Court reform stuff right now. That's
the United States being beyond criminal prosecution.
Whether or not to pack the court or add term limits.
Let me just ask a question. How does generally the Supreme Court determine like what is case law? Like they look at cases prior, right? Correct? Like, so you're sitting there saying there's no legal basis for them at all in any previous rulings, not in the Constitution, to come to this conclusion at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is
the whole case was a historical analysis, right? There absolutely is a historical analysis.
Stuff you had, not really.
To be clear, no, it wasn't. That's why the only case they can cite had to do with civil immunity, which was the Fitzgerald case.
I was going to say they only cited the Nixon v. Fitzgerald, and that only had to do with that was civil cases brought against the president.
Over and over again. And it's why even the justices that wrote in the Fitzgerald case said that obviously this would apply to criminal immunity. And Roberts doesn't cite any type of historical precedents at all because we're American.
Never happened before.
Yeah, the president of the United States would never be criminal law. Why would you even assume that as an American? That's just like, on its face, it's absurd, obviously.
If we're going to do this, maybe we'll do this as easily as possible. The president has total sole and exclusive power over the pardon. It's his. It's not Congress's, it's his. So Congress can't pass a law that says the president can't issue pardons on Wednesdays, because it's not their power. They don't have that power. Similarly, they can't pass a law that says the government will do no business on Wednesdays, and if you do business on Wednesdays, it's illegal. And then if the president issues a pardon on Wednesday, prosecute him for doing a pardon on Wednesday. There must be immunity, at least in these core areas, because Congress
and also another thing, that ignoring what he's saying for a second, the Nixon v. Fitzgerald case, I'm pretty sure there was a balancing act test to it, in terms of like I think Nixon cited like some level. No, wait, maybe this was fuck. I have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure there was a ruling, whether it was Nixon v. Fitzgerald or a different ruling, where basically the president was arguing, I have like executive privilege, so I don't like have to hand over these documents. And the balancing test was, well, you have to weigh the public interest between like the president handing over documents and the president's authority. The immunity test is not between the public interest and for the presumptive immunity, it's not between public interest and the president's authority. It's between if intruding or it's even just looking into investigating the potential crime that happened, if that poses any threat to the president's executive vigorous and executive functioning, or whatever the fuck they phrased it, then oh shit, I need to shoot sewage. Then you can't do it. Then it's absolutely immune.
There's no power to criminalize it.
The only thing that would make this work, the only thing that would make this work is if Congress were to pass a law saying it's illegal for the president to do some job. We're not even talking about passing a law that criminalizes the behavior of the president. We're talking about the courts being able to review a crime that the president committed, not the direct exit. No one's talking about banning presidential powers.
They can review it.
But this, I'm walking you through the logic of why there was.
And I'm explaining why it's illogical. You've never needed immunity for any of this.
No Constitution that they were looking at.
No, no part of the president's job.
Said there must be areas where the president cannot be criminally prosecuted.
Or 1989 to ban
Congress has no.
The practice of hiring little people to throw them. Do you have an opinion on this? Yes, that is absolutely unconstitutional and a violation of my First Amendment right and my Second Amendment right.
Seeks to criminalize behavior over which they have no power.
What if I just more
unconstitutional?
Yeah, welcome to this party.
No power. And that's what
power of Congress, right?
About in her concurrence, she was saying it's really an as-applied challenge. What you're looking at is the president did something, and then you say,
put a bunch of buzzwords here, so hopefully you know what I'm talking about.
Would we be legislating something where Congress has no?
Not buzzword keywords. Supreme Court case that addressed executive privilege in the balancing. United States v. Nixon. Executive privilege not absolute. The court rejected Nixon claims of an absolute unqualified privilege. There's a presumptive privilege to presidents for communication rooted in the executive powers. The privilege is qualifying can be overcome by showing a sufficient showing a need. Yeah. This case, the president here. I think this was also for civil stuff or whatever. It was about like what documents Nixon had to hand over to shit. But it was I guess it says sufficient showing a need. The test for overcoming presumptive immunity is whether it poses any threat to the executive functioning.
Power. If yes, he's immune, and I think that is like fairly straightforward analysis of the structure of the Constitution and the separation of powers.
Yeah, but none of the president's powers that he executes have ever called into question whether or not he's committing a crime while executing them. This is a constitutional protection that didn't need to be granted by the Supreme Court because it's always been there. Nobody's talked about arresting the president or saying the president's committed a crime when he's carrying out his duties.
It's always been there. So wait, there is a historical basis for this. Then. So you're basically you're like
earlier you were saying, covered as official. That's very straightforward. I don't know why anyone's confused. Localist, do you think that okay? First of all, not only it doesn't even just apply to the president now. You understand Jeffrey Clark, who I would say pretty blatantly engaged in conspiracy to defraud the United States. Jeffrey Clark can't even be prosecuted now because it's unreviewable. His actions are unreviewable because they took place within the context of the conclusive and preclusive authority of the president, right? I would say there's obviously a public interest in not having the president be able to commit crimes, okay? It should be a balancing act between a public interest and the president not committing crimes and the president's functioning. We didn't even get that. And also we didn't even get you have to. Trump's lawyers were arguing that you had to impeach the president before you could criminally prosecute him. They went further than that and just said it's unreviewable forever. No court can ever review this. You just got owned by localist Deuterino? Yeah, official.
No historical basis. Now you're saying
anything within the conclusive and preclusive authority of the president is now absolutely immune forever in perpetuity, cannot be reviewed.
Well, there was this other case, but I don't like that case, so let's ignore that. It's always been
official
implied.
Acts are done pursuant to the Constitution, but you understand it doesn't even matter whether the act is legal or not. It just has to be within the conclusive and preclusive authority. You understand if Trump talks to his DOJ official and says assassinate Nancy Pelosi, you understand he can't be charged with that, right? The Supreme Court already ruled any conversation Trump has with his DOJ falls within the conclusive and preclusive authority of the president. He can't be that can't even be reviewed. They can't even look at it.
Okay. So you're just basically like, which is it? Is it never been there historically, or has it always been there historically? Like,
there's never been a historical criminal immunity granted to any member of the U.S. government.
Okay.
There's also never before now been a prosecution of a former president for a criminal act that was allegedly part of his rule of time power.
No sane person believes that Donald Trump was functioning in his powers of the president, except for Roberts, who was on crack when he wrote that decision. That there's no part of what Donald Trump was doing that was his official role as president that the courts are now trying to review. That's just not true.
If I may,
this is actually interesting. Pisco and I have an argument about this for a long time, but I don't want to get into this.
Just real quick, right? I don't mean to interrupt the back.
Wow, Trump will become a dictator.
Interesting, right?
Trump should have a military take out Nancy for yeah, good one.
You mentioned earlier that you think that that SCOTUS as an institution is rather destroyed. Are you being hyperbolic about that? Do you think that the SCOTUS as it exists today, the makeup of it as today, do you think it's just kind of a rubber stamp for Trump at this point, or Republicans?
I wouldn't call it. I don't think it's a rubber stamp for Trump, but I think that the fact that we're going to have a conservative court for so long now, as a result of the Republicans abusing their power and acting unconstitutionally in the Senate by depriving a Democrat of his rightful, constitutionally allotted Supreme Court pick, that is challenging to the constitutionality of or to the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Absolutely, it is.
Thoughts?
I agree. Like the thing is, I think that behavior I think was awful. The thing is that it justifies so much stupid shit. But, like everything he's saying is like it's just like you can always kind of just well then why didn't they hear Garland's? Like it said no. They wanted to say no to him and said like you give us someone else, but they didn't. They sat on their hands, did nothing.
Just like localists. I don't know if localists are voting for Trump, but he defends Trump, even though Trump does not like the Constitution.
Hillary won. The thought was just, and people for some reason swallowed it, and then not only that, you go, no one action to stop it, and I think that does justify a level of piss. It would have been if Kavanaugh hadn't been actually gotten in before the election, and then they had blocked that seat for 2 years. I think that'd have been a good tip to go like, no, pass the law or we'll block. Hell, we'll block it for 6 years. You had no reason for 1 year. We'll do it until you pass the law. But that I could see you saying
sounds insane to anyone who's not American. I think,
yeah. Too. But when you're saying no, nuke everything if you don't get a procedural.
Dude, sometimes it sounds insane to me just because like sometimes during Obama's term, like I was even more of a child. I was literally like 13, so like I didn't I obviously was not following a lot of this when I was 13 years old. So sometimes when I hark back to stuff from Obama's time, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Thing that I agree with, but it's just, yeah, it feels like you're using a very large hammer for a very...
Yeah, but then the problem is that people like you are going to make the same argument if it happens again, right? We're going to be in the last year and a half of Kamala's presidency. It's going to be a Republican-led Senate, and there's going to be another Supreme Court pick that gets passed. And now I'm looking at you, and you're like, well, it's pretty shameful, and it's really horrible that, the Republicans don't. And then the next year comes like, well, but would you really nuke everything? Like, how far does this go? Like, it's already insane that the Supreme Court pick was deprived of a Democrat, right? And now we have a 6-3 conservative court for who knows how long. Like, that already happened. That's insane. And now it's like, well, let's just see what happens in the future. Until when? Do we lose another one? And then let's say
Kamala is a million times more of an American than Trump will ever
hypothetically
be.
That what I just said happens
Absolutely.
Again, and now we're in 2029 or whatever, and now we're having this exact same debate, and Republicans have deprived 2 different Supreme Court picks for a Democrat. Now do you agree with them? And I'm like, okay, well they should just pack the court if they won't pass this law, or do you make the exact same argument?
Like, how would you have the power to pack the court but not to fix it? Like, how are you having like I have so much power to do like I can't get a 1, but I can get a 10 through. Like, if you think you can pack the court, the thing is, do you think Republicans should just pack the court then as well? Because, like, I mean, if you're saying it's obliterated and it's already over, why wouldn't they start now?
Republicans don't need to pack the court. They've already gotten their...
I'll also say, like, this is something that I think we've got principle on, which is that let's say it doesn't happen the way you described. Let's say the next let's say 2 more times or 2 times in the future, the Democrats do the reverse of the Republicans essentially and block 2 picks. None of us here are going to be advocating for packing the court if that happens, despite the fact that, hey, the Dems got 1 up on the Republicans. But nobody here is going to say, well, the response to that's going to, hey, we better pass an amendment, otherwise we're going to pack the court. No, it's packing the court's not on the table.
Yeah, even if you end up with like a 9-0 liberal court due to specifically that, let's just say every single time, every single justice now gets hit with that, and the Democrats win every single time. Turnabout's fair play. They use the rule that Republicans started.
First of all, but carry on.
I mean, the whole country's doomed if we have a 9-0, so it doesn't really matter at that point.
Well, let me ask you a question. I want to know what's going to prevent this. This is the situation I see playing out. So here's what happened. We had basically the Senate follow the rules. It's within the rules that were set at the time. There was not enough tools for the Dems to stop them from like doing this under Obama, right? And so now they're worried it's going to happen again, or they're complaining. So basically, they want to change the rules, right? So what happens if they get what they want and they still don't win? Right? Like, let's say they still lose, they still don't get the Supreme Court, or somehow they're held up and the Republicans outgame them again.
How about
are they going to come back?
Yeah, they talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm assuming they'll get back to it later.
It's just going to keep changing the rules till they win. At what point does this stop? That's what I want to know. When does it stop? Is it only stop whenever they get what they want, or does it stop whenever they realize they're just bad gaming the system?
The rule that I'm suggesting is bipartisan. This is not a politically biased rule. Everybody should agree to this rule. Like, and if we pass this rule or this law or whatever, and then for whatever reason the Democrats lose the election and there's another Supreme Court pick from a Republican president, then that just is what it is. But that has no impact on this law.
Yeah, I agree. If you could actually get public support over that, thing is, I don't think anyone's going to care enough, so it's not going to be. But if you could make a national issue that says, here's what we want like, within 90 days you have to hear the hearing, like whatever, and you get the answer from every senator and every single person in Congress. It's not going to change, even though like we would all agree with you. The problem is you'd have to get the public to care, and if they did, then yes, people would take that position and pass that law. But
okay, number 1, I'm pretty sure if we look up like trust in trust in SCOTUS, I'm pretty sure most Americans at this point are not big fans of SCOTUS, trust in the Supreme Court. Yeah, it's like below half now. So like I would assume there's a decent amount of the people in public who would support this. I mean, Biden wrote his whole op-ed about Supreme Court reform. But secondly, what a like dumb point to like bring up in the debate. Well, I agree with you, but I don't think you'd get public support for that. That's not really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what Destiny was trying to talk about, but like, I don't. That would never be something I would want to talk about in a debate. I'd just be like, well, I'm just here to like talk to you about like what you and I think. I don't know.
The problem is I don't think people are going to care enough to get that kind of support over it.
Well, this is the problem. There's a theater aspect to this. This is what I was saying at the beginning. Like, you could fix this with a Senate procedural fix, and if you have the concerns Destiny articulated, you could hide the you could mask the procedural fix with a filibuster, so that you have to get to 60 votes to change that particular procedural rule, and then the Mitch McConnell maneuver with the Judiciary Committee is dead. Now, I think what this is raising is the kind of the larger question here, which is like, if there was no Judiciary Committee and there was just an up-down vote on Garland, and the Republicans voted no because they had enough seats to vote no, I don't know that that's going to make Destiny any more happy than he is today. I don't think it's going to.
Well, at the very least, they're voting, right? Like that was the whole issue. Even when people point back to because Republicans because Republicans won't take accountability for literally anything. They'll go, oh well, Harry Reid, he suggested the nuclear option, and this is where this all started. Yeah, but the reason why he suggested is because Republicans wouldn't vote on anything. I think it was like there had been 20 filibusters for federal judicial nominations in like the past 2 decades.
I have no clue who this guy is. Harry Reid.
And in the first couple of years of Obama's presidency, there were like 30. It was unreal. It's not that they were voting them down. They just wouldn't even have the vote. And McConnell explicitly said, we don't have to guess. McConnell said that my goal is to make Obama a one-term president. He wasn't going to let anything through the Senate. This can't happen.
So if the issue is the procedural rule, why not fix the procedural rule? Change the way the Judiciary Committee is structured and say that you can't change it again without breaking through a 60.
November 21st, 2013, Donna Reed, Senate as majority leader, Democratic majority, Senate voted 52-48 to eliminate the 60-vote requirement to end a filibuster. Against all executive branch nominees and additional nominations, a 3/5 supermajority were still required to end filibusters unrelated to those nominees, such as for legislation and Supreme Court nominees. The Democrats stated motivation for the nuclear option was expansion of filibustering by Republicans during the Obama administration, in particular blocking 3 nominations to the United States Court of Appeals of the District of Columbia Circuit. So he's right. Yeah, they don't even do anything.
I mean, you can do that. I don't know if you can get. Isn't the cloture like the ending of debate? Isn't that always 51 votes? I don't know if you can change that with just another rule, or that has to be a law. I'm not sure.
If you can just get people to care about it. The problem is if people politicians will respond what the public care about. And the thing is, if they cared about this, then yes, you could get it to a vote. The problem is and the idea of going into court packing, I'm not certain how you're gonna get the power for that. Because again, if you have so much power that you're just like, I'm just gonna overwhelm an entire branch of government, you're like, but you can't pass a procedural rule. Your limits are.
A question for you, Zetzway, then.
Sure.
I do have a question for you, but I have a question for Destiny as well from the audience, which I thought was well articulated, so I'll ask that and pass that on. If Kamala is running on a system where she does say, hey, I'm open to packing the courts, which she did in 2019, right? She did say she's open to that idea. And the public knowing this, or at least being made aware of this by advertisements.
I don't trust anything Kamala said from 2019. She obviously has moderated their positions on everything since then.
Like that. Vote her in. Is that not the public being okay with this? Right?
Maybe, but also packing the court is a nuclear. That's a really bad thing. Nobody wants
a really bad thing.
Yeah, what the Republicans did was also a really, really, really bad thing. So the Republicans have no accountability.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Let's say Republicans oppose the amendment that you're proposing. They just reject it right out of hand. Would you be in favor then of Kamala Harris just simply ignoring the Supreme Court as opposed to packing it? Because in your words, they're obliterated anyway. They don't really have any legitimacy anyway. Would you be in favor of just Kamala Harris? The Supreme Court says, no, don't do that. And she says, no, fuck you. I'm going to do it anyway.
No, I think that packing the court is more within the bounds of the law than just ignoring it.
So what's the difference in effect?
Well, one, it's not about what's in effect. It's about what's the law, right? There's nothing technically blocking you from putting more Supreme Court justices in. Ignoring the Supreme Court, would be a betrayal of the 3 branches of government, right? It just doesn't work at that point. You've destroyed your judiciary. Kind of like what Republicans have done now with the immunity ruling and the president.
No. I think you're right. You would destroy the judiciary. But I think when the effect is the same, right? We're talking about the same effect. That's why we're saying packing the court is destroying the judiciary, right? That's why we're saying it leads to that, because the effect is the same. You just put 20 sycophants on there that are going to do whatever you say, and then, or rule however you want. And then you've essentially done the same thing, just ignoring the Supreme Court.
Would you agree that it would destroy the court if a political party said we're never going to hear President Supreme Court pick again if it's from a different party?
I don't think it would destroy it. I'm against it, but I don't think it would destroy it. Because
why not?
Because you could very easily have the other political party do the exact.
I feel like that would destroy it more than packing it. Really?
We're also never going to hear your picks, and so you have a situation in which now the circumstances. Yes, we have a Supreme Court.
That's the same thing with the packing the court thing, though. Is that both sides could just say that they're going to pack the court every time.
Court packing won't destroy it because the other party can just pack the court when they get in.
Yeah, I understand, but this is what destroys it, right? Because now the Supreme Court is full of sycophants for every single.
Steve Maltman and Peter Thiel is doing Honduras for a third of their GDP.
No, I didn't. What is that about?
Yeah, but people would argue that that's already happened. No, it's a state court.
No, instead the back and forth is going to happen. Like, yes, over a long period of time, you're going to have a situation where you can only really get a Supreme Court pick in if you control, the Congress and the president. But that's going to apply to both parties, and you're still going to have like a slowly changing Supreme Court that's not going to be able to rubber stamp every single agenda that the incoming president has. But if you pack the court and both parties want to do that, you're going to have a rubber stamp that's going to say yes to anything that goes through. Why would they not?
We already have a 6-3 court for like the next generation. Like this has already been a huge problem, but like you guys are just like brushing over that, like, oh yeah, this is kind of bad, but like court packing would be horrible. Like something horrible has already happened.
Well, I also don't see what it has to do with what I said either.
It would have happened with one more liberal on the court, guaranteed.
This is a little bit of a pivot, right? Because we were talking specifically why won't they just ignore the Supreme Court? Oh, because that'd be destructive of the whole process. And then in effect, court packing is the exact same.
You're betraying the government.
Hold on. This is how it's different than court packing, right? Yes, I know you're saying it's 6-3, but it's not 25-3, right? Obviously, there's a difference there. And these six are ruling against each other a lot, by the way.
Substantively, there's a difference between like nominating a corrupt judge to a courthouse and ignoring everything from a courthouse. Like one, there might be both bad even, but they're different things in substance. These are two different things. Ignoring the entire judiciary is different than packing the court, which you could argue, hurts the legitimacy of the judiciary. But these are two different things.
No, it doesn't just.
It's easier to trick people if you do it.
Like,
why would it obliterate it?
Again, because you get a president that gets elected, unless they have congressional control, and the established norm is here, you just pack the court. Well, I'm going to find 25 sycophants that just do whatever I say, and I'm going to put them in the court, and I'm going to get everything that I want passed, guaranteed, because I'm going to find the people who have my exact agenda. Who have my exact agenda, I'm going to put them on the court. Currently, we have 6 justices that are, quote unquote conservative. They're incredibly principled, and they disagree with each other very often. Gorsuch ruled in favor of giving Native American tribes half of Oklahoma, and ruled that you can't fire people for being trans.
Courts don't pass laws. You can't pass a law with a court. So saying that the Supreme Court will give you everything you want doesn't even make sense, because you still have to get it through Congress. Okay, number one. Number two, if you wanted to pack the court, you'd still have to have the Senate approve every single court pick that you have. So you're getting at the very least your entire party to go along with it, assuming you've got a majority. So even what you said isn't true. No,
you're missing the point. You're missing the point. What I mean by that is that yes, you're going to have control of the Congress and the president, but then the Constitution is no longer a barrier, because you're going to have every single president's going to have enough justices on the court to say whatever they do is constitutional. Oh, you want to do something crazy that you just have enough like burning the flag, for example. Let's say you have a Trump-like figure who gets elected, and then he's super in favor of criminalizing burning the flag, and then he packs the court with 25 justices that all agree. Yeah,
he said Trump-like figure, not just
Trump. Right now, the Constitution is been destroyed essentially. Sure, but any single proposal is going to be destroyed.
He got that. You got a president that committed crimes.
It is not like that. It is not like that.
Destiny
now that said that you can commit crimes. That's okay. You're immune. That's this scenario literally verbatim has already happened.
We had that prior as well.
This situation has not happened.
The thing is, you're talking exactly the dissent to this in the civil immunity case. Like what you're saying is exactly what they said then too. And I asked you before, has that happened? Has there been massive amounts of civil damages done by presidents to people? Have they actually done the thing you're saying they're doing? Because
I feel like especially the fact that Clarence Thomas wrote his concurring opinion on special counsels. His concurring opinion, I think, was literally just hey, I agree, and also, hey, by the way, I think special counsels are unconstitutional. And then literally a few days after that, the Mar-a-Lago court got thrown out, or it's not complete. It's in a higher appeal court now, because the judge said that she thinks special counsels are unconstitutional too.
The dissent in that opinion did the exact same thing you did. We just gave the president the power to just do massive civil damages to anyone and be fully immune, and said this is insane, and they said the exact same thing. And it just didn't, but it doesn't happen. And the same thing here is you go, remember, it has to be a core power. I'm just not certain what you think is going to happen that didn't, it hasn't already.
Yeah, literally one paragraph of the court opinion. I write separately to highlight another way in which prosecution may violate our constitutional structure. Oh, okay, dude. Okay, sick, dude. Awesome, man. Sick, dude. Cool. You
First
really
of all, I don't
need
know
to do
the types
that
of
one.
civil damages that the president could do. We're talking of a totally different kind of thing than criminal activity.
Which means he'd be more inclined to do it. Which why haven't they? There's even less. I think it's for criminal. Why didn't Trump use it? Why didn't Trump use it civil damages to violate?
He committed crime. Oh, why?
No, why didn't he use civil? Why wouldn't he use it to make money? You could just basically buy things and then just not pay them and goes, I have civil immunity. Screw you. Why?
You mean having a Supreme Court or having his Secret Service people stay at his resorts every time he goes out golfing or whatever? What do you mean?
No, I mean you could make a contract and then just not honor it and just go, you can't sue me for civil damages. Or even just what happened to Nixon. Just say, I'm going to pass laws that screw over people that make them lose money, and just say you can't get me civilly, even though I even announced intentionally that I'm doing it.
No, for civil litigation, don't you have to have a particularized person? You can't even. I don't even know if you can even point to an entire law like that passed, right? Isn't that part of civil litigation? Is particularized injuries that are done to individuals in order to have standing every case?
I know we're going down. Fitzgerald.
Locally, I don't have strong opinions on gun control. That is such a dumb fucking point. Every time a bunch of kids die, Democrats want to stop that.
the idea that like the president could abuse this particular thing, there's a reason why a president might be super motivated to commit crimes, and we don't have to imagine that. We can just look at the last president. But in terms of like the president conducting himself in a way where he's like incentivized to commit like civil crimes, I don't think it maps on as cleanly at all. And also, is the implication from Fitzgerald that like you wouldn't be able to is there an implication that if Nixon had a private business and let's say Nixon sold hot dogs and he scammed or he sold some poisonous hot dog to some person, would Fitzgerald have protected Nixon from being sued as a private citizen if he did that while he was president?
So the majority doesn't. The same thing here, where you're saying that the dissent in this one says that SEAL Team 6. The majority doesn't say that.
The majority does sign off on that, and the majority
says, you're saying in there it says SEAL Team 6 can kill anyone you want. God-giving powers go.
Correct. And the majority explicitly protects Donald Trump asking the DOJ to send out lies from the DOJ to every state. That's not a core power of the president.
Destiny, if you think that this
wait, that. Don't let him escape from that. To be clear, you do recall that, right? Roberts told Trump that he is now allowed to do this thing. That's not a core power of the president, right? To tell the DOJ to lie to states.
To talk to your attorney general. If I said that you can, if Congress said, actually, the president can talk to the attorney general, but only if we say but it has to be approved by Congress first. Otherwise, it's a crime. It's a criminal act for the president.
No, hold on. It's only a crime when you do a crime.
I know, they make it a crime. You're saying that Congress can pass a law making it a crime for the president to talk to the attorney general. Why not?
Because the Supreme Court would strike it down as unconstitutional. What do you mean?
You're saying it isn't. I'm saying you don't think it is, right? It's not unconstitutional.
It's constitutionally protected to commit crimes.
I know, so they can make a crime for the president to talk to his DOJ, and you'd say that's okay.
No, it's not, because it would be unconstitutional.
How? It's a crime. You said the president has no immunity from crimes. Congress can pass any law they want. They can make it a crime for him to basically be the president.
If the president has in the Constitution the ability to appoint officers and to communicate with his officers, how could you criminalize that behavior?
Exactly.
There is immunity.
That's what we're saying. That's the official act that you can't criminalize.
There we go. There's immunity.
He's not being charged with picking his heads of his departments. That's not the crime that he's being charged with.
Fraud is the crime he's being charged with, and fraud is innocent.
Under what he's being charged with, you're telling me that if the president goes up to the head of the DOJ and says, I want you to go and cut like 15 people's throats, else I'm going to fire you, Robert's argument is that would be immune from criminal prosecution because he's allowed to.
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't be.
It would be.
How would it not?
It would be, and you're absolutely wrong. It would be, and you're absolutely wrong. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why Roberts doesn't touch the SEAL Team 6 thing, despite the fact that it came up in oral arguments, and despite the fact that it comes up. What?
You said he agreed with SEAL Team 6. What do you mean he didn't address
it? He doesn't touch it. He's strangely silent on it. Yeah, because he literally explicitly protects behavior.
Not silent. Which is it? Did he agree or was he silent? There's two different things.
He agrees with it in principle by the fact that he buckets some behavior where he says this is an absolutely immune thing. And I'm sorry, where in the Constitution does it say that the president is allowed to tell his DOJ to lie to states? Is that a constitutionally protected power?
Nope.
But it is true that Roberts said that that's beyond criminal prosecution,
right? He has the power
right?
to talk to his DOJ.
About anything? He can say anything he wants?
Nope.
Well, then why is this protected?
Well, that's kind of what the court ruled.
This would be full, because talking to his DOJ about election things is what they said would be the core power. But the thing is,
it's
when
not.
you say
What
like slit your
power
nine
is that?
throats.
Investigating and prosecuting crimes, Destiny. That's the core power.
I'm sorry, the elections for the states are not in the purview of the federal government, okay? Generally speaking, number one, there could be some exception to that, number one. And number two, he wasn't asking them to investigate. He was telling them to lie about an investigation.
That is the category of immunity that the court articulated. It was the police power. Investigating and prosecuting crimes and talking to your subordinates about the investigation and prosecution of potential crimes. Now, you and I might agree that
it wasn't even the Jeffrey Clark letter wasn't even I guess technically it said I think Jeffrey Clark letter. I think technically it said the DOJ was investigating and making headway on election fraud cases, but I don't think it wasn't even about. I don't even know if I can consider
him being
saying it was about like investigating crimes.
Investigating and prosecuting crimes.
It's not about him being wrong. It's about him committing a crime. It's about him engaging in criminal behavior that is now beyond.
And this is why why the court made that rule. You understand that if you have immunity unless you committed a crime, there is no immunity.
Correct.
Right? That's a total circle.
The president shouldn't have immunity from committing crimes. Presidents have never thought that. Nobody has ever thought that. Why did Nixon accept Ford's pardon? Why did Ford even pardon Nixon? Like, why would he do it?
That's a great question. I actually think Ford pardoned Nixon to avoid a situation exactly like this, where we were forced to confront the question that is better off without an answer. I think we all were better off in a world where we weren't getting into this kind of tit-for-tat reprisals. This is, if we're going to be in an era where people are going to really be testing the guardrails like this, then the guardrails have to be firm. I preferred the era where we didn't test these guardrails and we got to do things through soft power. But if we're going to have to articulate rules, we need rules.
You say tit for tat. What was the tit for this tat?
No, it's a potential. So let's say that the immunity ruling went your way, and then now he wins, and then he goes right after Biden and throws Biden in prison. Would you support that and just say, well, Trump found a criminal for to commit, he can throw them all in prison? You just support all of it?
No, because that's not how any part of the government works.
Well, no, I'm saying that if they come up with a reason, a law he broke, what was the one he impaired an
if
agency?
they come up with a reason.
If somebody's able to present an indictment to a grand jury indicts, a prosecutor takes him to criminal court, and in front of a jury of his peers, he gets convicted of a crime, then sure. This is exactly how our criminal system is supposed to work.
What's the great quote? I could get an indictment for a ham sandwich.
You get a beyond reasonable doubt conviction for a ham sandwich?
Policy. I like Democrats see kids getting shot and are sad about it. Correct. Yes, they do try to play in people's emotions sometimes because it is in fact sad when kids get shot. Whether or not you believe in gun control, should be able to all agree on that. I don't.
No, you said indictment. I was talking about indictment.
No one cares. We're not talking about indictments though. We're talking about convictions.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were talking about indictments, so that's what.
No,
that's
show me the man. I'll show you the trial.
Biden definitely did, just to be candid. And I don't think he should have been charged, by the way. So
I have a couple super chats that are.
What did he say Biden did?
So that's what.
No,
show me the man. I'll show you the trial.
Oh, I didn't even realize Destiny is doing piece of tactic again. Common bad faith tactic.
Biden definitely did.
Can't believe it.
And I don't think he should have been charged, by the way. So
I have a couple super chats that are useful to read a little bit, so I'll go through them real quick. And Pisco's knocking down my door.
I would like to start on SEAL Team 6 because I was a little confused, Ryan. When we finished our conversation earlier, it seemed that you had granted that the police power, which is your basis for, and I suppose the court's basis for structuring out or charting the core executive function of the president, includes the authority in certain circumstances to use lethal force. I thought you agreed to that, and you agreed that killing of a normal citizen, we'll get to the prominent citizen, would be covered by absolute immunity, provided the president write some kind of pro forma memo that said all these kinds of conditions were met out. I thought you had granted that would be absolutely immune. So I'm confused now. You're not granting Stevens' invocation of that.
Yeah, a ground rule, though. I'm not here to relitigate you guys.
Math-based New Keynesian.
Sure. We can start fresh. Why is it that you're not granting Stevens?
Why would he hate it?
First principles, and then
the police power of the president, to the extent that it includes, ordering of investigations under certain circumstances and ordering of arrests under certain circumstances, would also include ordering lethal force under certain circumstances. Would you agree with that?
Let's back out even further.
Okay.
The presidential police power is primarily prosecuting and investigating crimes. It does not include assassination orders.
Does it include ordering? Does it include ordering the use of lethal force under certain circumstances? Yes or no?
You can absolutely say under certain circumstances it's okay to use lethal force.
We're going to get really in the weeds on a technical back and forth that we have if we go down this road.
No, we won't.
That's why all the Republicans were so upset when it came out that at Mar-a-Lago, technically the FBI was authorized to use lethal force. They said that was Biden trying to assassinate Trump.
No, or you can say yes, and you can explain.
The answer to that question is there is no such thing. The police power does not include an unconditional kill order.
I understand.
The police power can include the use of lethal force in certain situations, which is where we're going to go, the road that we want to go down here.
Perfect.
But it does not include is saying you kill this person, flat stop. That's not something the police does.
Would the police power of the president include ordering the use of lethal force to stop an imminent deadly threat against United States citizens?
We're gonna go through this whole line again.
No, we're not. Yeah. Okay, let me just ask.
Why can't we go down this line?
Because we have 6 people on this panel, and I want to make sure that it's a conversation we can all have and not just 2 people back and forth. Pisco, let me ask you just real quick. Court packing. Destiny says he's in favor of it if they don't pass.
Absolutely, 100% in favor of court packing. It is the most clear and obvious policy position that you can be in favor of. These people have this idle talk about how somehow a statute packing the court is better, more worse than the unilateral withholding of the constitutional prerogative of the Senate to hear a president's nomination. There's a concept in the law known as waiver. And that waiver ought to be, Obama should have, in my opinion, just installed Merrick Garland after the Senate refused to do their constitutional duty to hear and give advice and consent and give an up or down vote. Here's the problem, right? So at the very minimum, go ahead.
Before we go into Pisco's opinion on this, okay? Because I feel like Ryan got off on a technicality. Okay, just a quick thing. So Pisco wanted to challenge you on ordering the president.
I need to do more reading into I guess whether or not constitutionally the Senate should actually have to hear court appointments because I don't have a strong opinion on it right now. I don't know.
President using the policing powers to assassinate an American citizen, and I think Ryan is correct that you can't actually, the police are never allowed to assassinate somebody.
You heard that song before? I know that you miss Obama. That guy was so right.
Just be very simply reframed as a military order matter. The president, do we all agree, or Ryan, do you agree that the president has the unilateral ability and authority to assassinate political, or not political enemies, but enemies to the United States?
So this is going to get into a few very technical.
The song's a little. This. I don't know how much of this has aged well, considering the world went rogue.
We know it's been pretty fun for me, smoking presidential tree on the White House balcony and on the porch. Monkeys. Crackers always be hating on the color of my skin. I'm in the rose garden outside where weed grows. I put a man on Mars, steal a couple cars, legalize backhanding girls so they know you're in charge.
Yeah, I don't know if it is.
Shorten the word.
Dude, I used to, when I was fucking 8 years old, this shit went hard when this first came out.
Smoked a blunt with Dre. Told Korean boy he's gay. I know that you'll miss Obama. Don't lie, you gon' miss the drama. We had fried chicken every night for supper with a side of beans. I know.
Yeah, okay.
Areas pretty quickly. If you're saying SEAL Team 6 does it versus the FBI does it, you're talking about different presidential powers, which would have different perimeters and different articulations of immunity. So
when Donald Trump assassinated, when Donald Trump assassinated Soleimani, did he have to ask Congress for authority on that?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
so just assume no.
I imagine.
I'm pretty sure he didn't, but I'm pretty sure Congress basically delegated that ability to him. Didn't the oh wait, not the 1973 one. What was the one after 9/11? This one, authorization of the military force. I think this technically delegates.
So what if he wanted to assassinate? So here's a question: do you think that he should be criminally immune then from that assassination?
Do you think he should assassinate? Do you think that the president should be prosecuted for that?
Yes.
Yeah, the authorization granted the president the authority to use all necessary and appropriate force against those whom he deemed planned, authorized, or committed or aided the September 11th attacks. I think technically, he didn't have to ask Congress for permission, but Congress had already delegated him that authority, I think.
This is a difficult question, and Pisco and I got into this on the last conversation. The reason why this is hard is that Congress does have a lot of power over the military. So it's very possible that we're not in core immunity, we're in presumptive immunity. So the question then, so there's a question about whether it's core or presumptive.
Wait, can I ask a quick? Hold on. Can I ask a quick question? Hold on. You say they've got overlapping powers. My understanding is Congress can't issue direct orders to the military. No. Isn't the only
they can regulate the military.
So, but they can't issue
Congress can regulate the DOJ as well.
Yeah, but in terms of ordering, having the final say, the president is the commander in chief, right?
100%.
The Congress has more power over military and military operations than internal
also
DOJ.
Make the president
Congress could get rid of the DOJ if it wanted to, correct?
Yes, they of course could get rid of the DOJ, but we're talking about their capacity to regulate internal procedures like
Congress could eliminate all the jurisdiction of the DOJ. Congress could say DOJ.
Would it be easier to have him give you guys a core power? Just say, Ryan, what is a core power of the president, and then go give your example.
No, there is no core power with respect to military. That's what he's about to say. Yes or no?
I don't know whether there's a core power.
You don't know whether there's the chief executive, the commander in chief. You're unsure about whether there's any core powers attached to the commander in chief role. That is insane.
Do you think yelling makes you more persuasive?
It's just ridiculous where we're at. You're trying to find any way to distinguish Roberts' opinion. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. No, stop. Just stay on topic.
Wait.
There's a law called the Wartime Powers Act. We don't know whether it's constitutional or not because it's never been tested.
There are laws about the DOJ. There are laws that regulate the Department of Justice.
It regulates the extent to which the president can use the military for war. So if that's constitutional, then there's a lot of coextensive power. If that's unconstitutional, it's more likely to be core. But we don't know the answer.
Anything you say about the military is going to be true about the DOJ. Congress has absolutely a coextensive supervisory role over what the DOJ does or what it doesn't do. It absolutely controls the purse strings in so much as it controls the purse strings of the military. So anything you say about the nature of congressional control, about the nature of congressional control over the military is going to be true, if not more so, the Department of Justice.
Okay, no, I want to get back to a question to something that Destiny brought up because I think it's very important, and I'm just curious.
What's up, Turbo?
Do you think that Congress or the criminal justice system should have the power to prosecute a president for the drone striking of how do you say his name, Soleimani?
The drone! Oh my God, the drone! Did you know Obama killed an American citizen?
No, let's go. That's not really the question.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, but the problem is now I see what's happened. This always happens with every conservative is that they start saying insane shit that because Actually, I want to answer to Pisco's question now. The DOJ was created by Congress, so why wouldn't the coextensive powers or operation of the DOJ, which is authorized by Congress and the officer that is appointed there,
funded by Congress,
all of it. So tell me, how could that be constitutionally immune? Like, it seems like you walked yourself into the exact trap that somebody tried to lay for you, where they're saying like, oh well, if the president can talk to his officers in the DOJ is literally made by Congress. How is that a core and exclusive power?
Stephen, can Congress declare war on another country? Yes.
Yes.
Can Congress tell the president who to investigate for crimes? No.
No, but hang on a second. Can Congress tell the president who to drone strike?
Yeah, or even more precisely, hold on. You said Congress can declare war on a country. Can Congress deploy the military to another country?
No.
Okay, wait. So then we've identified a core, exclusive, conclusive, right?
Well, no. The question then is, and this is going to be what would happen, and Pisco hates it when I start doing this because it's judicial realism, but when it goes back to the court, the question is going to be, how do they define the role and how do they police the boundaries of the role? And this is going to be a pretty technical analysis, which we don't have briefing on and we don't have a decision on. We can speculate, but that's what the court would do, is they ask,
Technically, also, this did tell the president who to drone strike. It said that he could only do it with people who are responsible for the 9/11 attacks, right? Against whom he determined planned, authorized, committed, or aided the September 11th attacks, or who harbored said person or groups.
In good faith, can we probably imagine a world where the Congress is the one that has to declare war and approve, the use of the military for war, but the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the military, who has offices underneath him for secretary.
Persons he determined planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorists that occurred on September. Yeah, technically, I know this is seemingly limiting who he can drone strike.
The army, that of all these, right? That he's probably the one that's supposed to conduct the war. That's probably true, right?
And I think probably what would happen if in a situation where the president used the military to assassinate a domestic political rival, probably, and I don't want to get into the treason thing because that's a whole other topic, so I'll wrap that piece go. But probably the court would say that isn't the type of thing that we want presidents doing. We think this is
This is all realism. This is all realism.
I understand. Let's say I agree with all that. Okay, let's say I agree with all of that. Okay, that's fine.
And then they say we
I agree on all that. Okay, Soleimani, you agree that the president had the ability to do that beyond criminal review, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's say that you wait to assassinate Soleimani until he's hanging out with Obama. Why would this suddenly be allowed to be reviewable by a court? Wouldn't it be the exact same thing?
Well, so I'm not sure I understand how it goes. Soleimani's hanging out with Obama, and then they drone
former
strike.
President Obama and the president in charge, not really going after Soleimani, but with the intention to kill Obama, has this pretext to have a drone strike to kill Soleimani, but that's the sort of stated rationale, and Obama dies as a result, even though the true intention was to kill Obama.
Wait, also, what if he just argued that Obama was he determined that Obama was responsible for the 9/11 attacks? That wouldn't even be reviewable. If Turbo has been here. I'm not a lawyer, so somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but technically, the way the opinion is written, it says that suppose that Obama, I don't like the way the opinion is written. It says it doesn't matter if the action is actually legal or not. It just has to be within the conclusive and preclusive authority. I don't even think I might be able to help. I don't even think it matters. If the law says the 2001 authorization of military force says that the president may do whatever fucking drone strike whoever he determines is responsible for the 9/11 attacks. That's clearly within his conclusive and preclusive authority, right? So let's say he drone strikes Obama. Does he need a good reason to do that, or can he just say? Because I don't think the court could. I don't think it would matter if he had a good reason, because I don't think the court could review it at all. It'd be unreviewable, right? He could just say, "Well, Barack Obama's middle name is Hussein, and therefore I think he committed the 9/11 attacks. I can just drone strike him." I don't know if the court would be able to review that. Right? Would they be able to review that? I don't know if they'd even be able to review it.
That's the hypothetical.
That's the hypothetical now? Okay. I think that this is probably what's going to end up happening is that
the same way, like they can't review like Jeffrey Clark's letter. Like it doesn't matter that the letter that Jeffrey Clark was going to send out was filled with lies and like was a fraudulent letter, because they can't review it at all. So I don't even know. Yeah, it would be that because that would be analogous, right? Because yeah, they can't review it at all.
Again, I don't want to go down this road because it's a long one, but there's another treason argument that I can make at the end of this if we're interested. I think what the court's probably going to say is that this is outer perimeter immunity. And then they're going to ask whether this is the kind of conduct that we're trying to show.
Wait. You have to explain why. You say this is outer perimeter conduct. You just granted that the killing of Soleimani without Obama there would be core and immune.
No, now I think it'd be immune. I don't think it'd be core.
Why would it not be core?
I think that Congress could pass a law that says the president is not allowed to do drone strikes of that nature.
No, that's not what was asking you.
I'm asking who else could order. You keep trying to say that like a limitation on a thing is the same as directing a thing. It's not, right?
No,
the board can put restrictions on CEO, but the board is not CEO. What?
Core immunity is when the president has core and exclusive power.
Yes, that's what Stephen's asking you.
Congress could pass a law that says the president's not allowed to do drone strikes. I don't think it's a core and exclusive power. No.
So could Congress pass a law that says you can't send fake electors? Okay. So could Congress pass a law that says that the president is not allowed to direct his DOJ about fake electors and to send fake letters in his communication with DOJ? Could they do that?
No.
Why not?
Probably not. I think prosecuting and investigating crimes is core and exclusive.
Why is that more core and exclusive than the president's role in commander-in-chief in conducting wars?
Do we pass a law?
Yeah, okay, I don't even know if he's saying. In my mind, if you're saying, well, they can't like legislate the DOJ's ability to send fake letters, and I don't know why they would be able to legislate if you have a good enough reason to drone strike someone. I don't see why at that point. If they can't do anything about the DOJ sending fake letters, I don't know why they would be able to do anything about the DOJ, or sorry, not the DOJ, SEAL Team 6 drone striking a person that Donald Trump suspects is responsible for the 9/11 attacks, whether or not he has a good reason to suspect them or not. Trump will destroy anyone who goes against him, like Pence. True, accurate, true.
Oh my God.
I guess what?
The use of chemical weapons. It's a hypo. I don't know.
Well, we signed into an international agreement.
The question is, yes, it is.
The use of a chemical weapon and the use of a drone is tightly analogous. If the Congress can outlaw one weapon, they can clearly outlaw the use of another weapon. Dude, calm the F down.
No, because people who defend this ruling, I'm sorry to say, sicken me. It sickens me. It really does. This ruling is absolutely lawless, has no basis in any original foundation.
But I do want to hold on. I do want to bring it. Hold on. Okay, I packed the panel, and that was obviously a decision of all time. Okay, let's get us back a little bit to the subject of court packing, because you made a statement about court packing, and I didn't get to hear any responses.
Well, wait, can we do this for like 5 minutes? Because every time we get really close to solving this, the conservatives always dance like crazy.
Are you close to solving this? Do you think we're close?
We're making progress.
It's a really tight, easy question. Right? We all agree that the president is the only one that could order the military assassination.
Right?
What?
No, I'm not conservative, right?
Or do you support Trump in the upcoming election?
No.
Well, who cares? People who support this immunity doesn't matter.
You keep saying that all these conservatives. I'm not conservative.
Listen, I got a question, and it relates to both here. So,
wait, if the president is the only one that can do this, okay, and we agree that Congress probably can't order the specific use of the military, then how could you call into question any of the use of the military by the president, by the courts? How could it ever be a criminal investigation?
Destiny is a debate,
Chad. The question isn't whether Congress can give the order. The question is whether Congress has regulatory power in the area that's coextensive with the president or not. They don't have regulatory power over the pardon. That's why it's the easiest example.
Okay, wait, they have regulatory power over the DOJ.
It's 1-to-1.
They do not have regulatory power about who the DOJ is prosecuting.
Wait. Where does that come from? When Congress creates an office, isn't Congress the one who's in charge of figuring out like how the officer appointed, or who needs the advice and consent of who, or what the president has to, like? Congress could theoretically abolish the entire DOJ.
Also, yeah, that's true. Congress always has. I mean, at the end of the day, they have the power to pursue. They could just defund the DOJ if they really wanted to as well. Like, I like Wick as a Democrat, but he's not very smart in my opinion. I mean, I've really only seen him host panels. I haven't seen him done too much debating himself, but I don't know. Like, he seems chill. I talked to him once. I called in to his show once. He seemed cool.
Congress creates the law, and the president takes care to enforce the law.
We're not talking about the whole office here, created by Congress.
That I rated him afterwards with 2 viewers.
Congress could eliminate the DOJ. They could eliminate the FBI, but they create the office, and within the office, the president has discretion.
So Congress could eliminate, if it wanted to, the entire prosecutorial power of the president. Agree with that?
I was a Black Wizard panel's guest, but I turned it down. Lame.
It's a practical battle, yeah.
Yes. Could Congress eliminate? Could Congress eliminate the military power of the commander in chief?
Technically, I mean, in the sense that you just completely defunded the military, so there is no military.
You were on
So it's 1-to-1 no matter what, right? So
Pisco
how can you say,
awesome,
at best, right? Like, I would even argue that the role as head of military, that's explicitly laid out, right? Congress could get rid of all federal criminal law. It says, hey, we're not in the business of federal criminal law anymore. I'm not so sure that Congress could eviscerate constitutionally the president's authority to conduct military.
Wait, why did they relate? I thought you had to be a fucking streamer to compete. Why do you even what?
Affairs, or to if there were no calling forth act or militia act, that the president couldn't using his constitutional office just call forth militias.
Yeah, I should do that, man. I don't know if that'd be. I'm not trying to burn any bridges. I don't have to. Okay.
So again, I am not so certain.
I used to work for Dylan Burns.
The congressional role over the military functions of the president is more than the DOJ. If anything, it would be the other way around. At the best for you guys, it's 1-to-1. And so how can you distinguish it?
I'm sure Destiny looked this up, but the Wartime Powers Act or resolution ostensibly requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of committing armed forces to military action and forbids armed forces from remaining for more than 60 days. Now, I don't know whether that's constitutional, and there's a lot of debate over this, and to my knowledge, it's never been tested. But that is an example of Congress regulating expressly the president's commander-in-chief authority. So if that is constitutional, it's pretty clear that this is a coextensive power. Now, it might not be. We don't know the answer, but I don't think it's frivolous to say that this is a coextensive power. Certainly, members of Congress have historically thought it was.
Then how could we ever think that the DOJ?
Yeah, I don't know. They're running in circles, but if he's making that argument, I don't understand how the same thing would not apply to the DOJ when Congress literally created the DOJ and like has their ability to regulate it, has the ability to remove its funding. I don't.
DOJ thing is an exclusive and non-coextensive.
Yeah, I don't. I don't understand enough about law to have a strong position on this, I guess, but it would make sense to me that if he's saying if the commander in chief is a shared authority or whatever, then the DOJ would have to be. Also, my city is so fucking horrible, man. It's awesome.
They can, if you're saying they can literally limit the war powers of the commander in chief of our military, but you're saying the DOJ and how he appoints officers and discusses things with them, that's untouchable when they could abolish that entire department?
Yeah, I think there's a very big difference between passing a law that says X is criminal and creating an agency to investigate crimes of that nature and saying, hey, Mr. President, you must investigate Stephen Bunnell for crimes.
No one is in the military. That is not you rejected the military hypothetical that Stephen gave on ordering the military to do something. And now you're trying to bring in that Congress order.
Why aren't you out canvassing in North Carolina? I probably should be, but I can't. I can't drive. So like, there's no way. There's no good way for me to do it.
The prosecution of a particular person when you rejected that very same framework for the military context. So stop with that.
I do donate half my money to Kamala Harris, though. So.
Congress can declare war without the president's consent.
Okay. I'm throwing a flag on the play because you're just relitigating the same conversation you had, right? And we're not here for that.
It was a fun conversation.
I am sure
where do you keep your box?
Beautiful.
I can upload it somewhere.
I understand.
Yeah.
Why donate? Because Kamala Harris is awesome, and I need just vote. I am also going to vote. I'm not just donating.
Upload it. It was a fun conversation.
No, it was painful. I mean, it was painful because
it was painful
because we can absolutely.
I'm passing the ball to Lactoid. Lactoid. Pisco said, right, about court packing that it was.
Why didn't you finish it? I didn't finish it.
Yes, they do.
Finish it. Finish it. Finish it.
Yeah,
I will help you at all costs.
So what people really care, people don't really care, though they should, about the number of justices. They should care about the number because the workloads, it's way too many cases, and we don't have enough justices just for administrative purposes. But people don't really care about the number of justices. What they care about is a partisan balance of the court. That's what people care about, whether it's 2-to-1 or 5-to-4 or 6-to-3 or whatever the number is. What they care about is a partisan balance. And what we're talking about here are violations of norms that affect because of illegitimate reasons.
I slam my knee really hard, but also I don't even know if I care about I don't care about just the partisan balance. I care about how fucking insane the justices are. And I think Thomas is pretty clearly insane. Barrett is semi-reasonable, but yeah, right now it's not I don't think it's a good. I don't think we have good people up there.
Reasons, whatever you want to call those, that affect the partisan balance of the court. And so one has to wonder, why is it better for us to have a norm-shattering situation with Merrick Garland, which only requires not even the consent of both branches and presentment to the president, which a statute would require? Why is that better than just passing the statute expanding the number of seats on the court? If all of it's doing is enforcing or using the powers already given to the branches of government, then it's exactly 1-to-1. Yes, the Senate has a power to not have a vote on a particular candidate, and the Congress has the ability to expand the number of seats on the judicial court, on the Supreme Court. It's 1-to-1. They both have the power to do it. I would prefer a statute expanding the number of seats on the court, because at the very least you have bicameralism and presentment than the unilateral decision by Mitch McConnell in the norm-shattering way to affect the partisan balance of the court. Anyone who says that it's preferable actually to have that norm-shattering unilateral decision by one person as opposed to a bicameral presentment and signature by the president, I think has lost the plot and what people really care about.
Okay,
so if they expanded the court and you gave all conservatives, you'd be okay with that?
Hold on. Just like, before you go, I want to give it to Lactoid first. Then we're going to let Zetsui. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name. And then we're going to go to Gibbs, and then we're going to keep on going. So Lactoid, you can respond to that, then Zetsui, then Gibbs. Go ahead.
Yeah. So earlier, Pisco, you told Ryan that anybody who defends Trump immunity case sickens you.
Yeah.
But I think people who advocate
all
for
right,
court
let's
packing,
go.
that sickens me. Okay.
Yeah.
Court packing will obliterate our third branch of government. It will completely obliterate the Supreme Court. You're going to have a tit for tat back and forth for every single election. Every single president is going to put on 25, 30, 40, whatever sycophants that are going to do whatever they want. They're going to rule however they want, and the Constitution at that point is in the garbage. Now, when you're talking about the norm shattering procedure, which I disagree with, by the way, but this norm shattering procedure that Joe Biden advocated for doing back in 1992, no, I think that there is a substantive difference between doing this and throwing the whole Supreme Court out with court packing, just like it would be. There's a difference between that norm and the norm of just ignoring the Supreme Court. Right. I remember I was on a panel with you and I said that if the Supreme Court orders, this was about immigration in Texas, if the Supreme Court orders you to do something, not doing it is treason, arguably. Right. And Abbott needs to comply with the Supreme Court. I was very forceful in that, and I'm forceful about it now. And obeying the Supreme Court is an incredibly important norm, much more important than the thing that again Biden proposed in 1992 that Mitch McConnell did. And Mitch McConnell.
Cowardly. Oh my God.
You're talking about Mitch McConnell being it's unilateral. I mean, he was a majority leader for a reason, right? I mean, he was an elected representative, and they had a majority of that house. So it's not like, oh, Mitch McConnell's just this fucking guy somewhere who just decided this.
I'm tracking everything you're saying. So let me respond. Okay. Number one, you agree that it is constitutional and legal for the Congress to expand the number of seats on the court? Yes or no?
Yes, I will, but I want to be very clear. Yes. I don't want to treat this like a fucking deposition. Okay, yes or no bullshit. I mean, we're lawyers. We do it during depositions. This is a conversation, and you don't.
Well,
have to
I feel like this cuts the bullshit. Okay? I feel like this cuts the bullshit.
I know. Well, no.
Yeah, I feel like you're bullshit.
The point of a deposition. I did answer yes right away.
Yeah,
but just to be clear, right? The whole point of a deposition and what you do with this is to try to box somebody into a uncharitable.
That's what I'm doing. I am about to do that.
Me when I try to I don't know if I would. I don't know. I mean, maybe you could. No, I wouldn't. I mean, trying to box your opponent into a corner is absolutely an okay thing to do during a debate. At least if you think you're actually right on it and think you're able to do it, absolutely, that's totally fair to do.
This is what we're taught to do.
It's called biting the bullets. So yes, you agree that. Okay, then I'll just give you the natural extension of what you just said. All right, I'll say it.
Yes or no.
You just okay, dude. You just agreed that it would be legal and constitutional for Congress to pass a statute expanding the number of seats on the court. Actually, I have to ask you a question. I don't want to say yes or no. Wouldn't it be unconstitutional to ignore the Supreme Court's ruling?
Yes.
Okay, so isn't that a basis to distinguish ignoring the court and expanding the number of seats on the court?
Not in effect, because you can accomplish the same effect and completely undermine the purpose of that branch by packing the court. If you had Kamala Harris just ignore the Supreme Court when they're saying, hey, you can't do that, like they're trying to do with the student loan shit, by the way. But, hey, you can't do that. Oh, no, fuck.
What a bastard.
Hold on. But then.
Is that what they're trying to do with the student loan stuff? I feel like that's a really uncharitable interpretation of what they're trying to do. But also, want to know a funny thing about the immunity decision. I don't if Biden said if he ordered the head of the Department of Education to literally shred all the records of who owed student debt, I don't think Biden could be criminally prosecuted for that. That would probably fall under the absolute immunity bucket. That would fall in as conclusive and preclusive authority. If he literally just said, "Hey, DOE, the head of the DOE." Literally shred and delete all the records of who owes student debt, and they can't collect it anymore because they simply don't know who owes it. He can't be prosecuted for that. That's under the preclusive authority of his office.
Oh, well, man, the Supreme Court keeps telling me, no, I can't do that. Well, I know what I'll do, right? I've got support in Congress to do this. I'm just going to flood them with 25, people off the street that are going to say yes.
Filibuster. So one thing that I care about, Lactoid, I don't know about you, is the Constitution. So when you say one of these proposals is constitutional and one's not, I think that's a pretty good basis to distinguish being okay with one and not the other. One violates the Constitution, one doesn't. I think that's a totally reasonable way to distinguish ignoring the court versus packing the court, which is absolutely within the constitutional purview of Congress and the president, happened multiple times in history. If you want to point to the multiple times in history, I guess you're just pointing to Joe Biden's, what he said, and maybe one other time 100 years ago. I can certainly point.
I'm going to interject here.
Wait, what was the 1992 thing again?
Joe Biden was arguing vigorously.
He wasn't arguing. Joe Biden made one statement as the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee saying that maybe we should consider doing something different about nominating Supreme Court picks during like heavy election season. It was a statement made. There was no serious thing pursued. And the equivalency that you're trying to draw here is fucking insane. Like, you stop going back to this because somebody in chat pointing out one thing to you and you're like, oh, I finally fucking got him now. And now conservatives can again take accountability for fucking nothing.
No. I think.
Yeah, we looked this up earlier. We were on the New York Times article about this. I guess
I think this is a great thing. By the way, I found this is from New York Times, right? As a senator more than 2 decades ago.
Oh, same thing. As a senator more than 2 decades ago. Oh, crazy. We all looked up the same
Vice
exact
President
thing.
Joseph R. Biden Jr. argued that President George Bush should delay filling a Supreme Court vacancy should one arise until the presidential election was over, and that it was essential that the Senate refuse to confirm a nominee to the court until then. He was arguing for this. He was arguing that it was essential. Joe
Biden has said some stupid shit in his life. Joe Biden.
Oh no! Look at you trying to avoid responsibility.
Wait. I'm happy to say Joe Biden has said some really dumb shit in his life. He has said some really wacky stuff. You were offered a distinction. Wait, hang on a second, because he was. Oh my god, that's not what this conversation is about. I'm surprised, like, Wick didn't just whack you just then for not being on topic.
Whoa, Pisco, you're telling me what I should whack and not whack.
I'm joking. All right. So, Lactoid, you were just giving a point of distinction between not following the Supreme Court and packing the court with seats. That is, one would be constitutional and one would be unconstitutional. Isn't that a reasonable basis for me, a left-wing person, to distinguish those actions based on their underlying constitutionality? Isn't that reasonable?
When you can legally destroy the entire
yes
branch,
or no, is it reasonable?
First of all, I don't think it's reasonable when both lead to the same effect. Because the concern I have is the destruction of the Supreme Court.
I totally disagree that they lead to the same effect, at least to the same extent. Especially considering we've packed the Supreme Court before in history, and it did not seem to be like that catastrophic or anything. Yeah, I don't.
I care about following the Constitution.
I want to hear what Destiny was trying to say. Destiny, go ahead.
No, to pretend that like Joe Biden, who mentioned this one time where there wasn't even a vacancy, when he proposed the idea that in election seasons maybe there shouldn't be a nomination, to pretend that this is the same as what McConnell did is delusional. It's not even. And every time he can offshore, like when the Democrats try to violate the Constitution, like what they're trying to do with the student loan stuff, they're going to the Supreme Court for these things. What do you mean? When the Supreme Court says no, then they don't do it. Like you're just trying to tag these things on the Democrats whenever you politically can do so, which is ridiculous.
And presidents do it all the time, by the way. Like, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
But didn't we agree earlier that what McConnell did was like suboptimal for the rule of law? Like,
I started off by saying this. We started this whole thing off. We all agreed. Yes, it'd be great to have an amendment that would prevent this from happening. But what I'm saying is that the argument being made from them is that
all of a sudden people care about the Constitution. People said it was obsolete. Who said it was obsolete? I don't know how many people are arguing the Constitution is now obsolete.
They would even push to do this when it's like, no, this is obviously a problem, and this is something that we should fix because we have the current Democrat president having advocated for this, right? Having pushed.
Let's agree with this. Can we all agree then that nothing should change and it should carry on? But the next time a Republican president nominates somebody, the Senate should refuse to hear it just one time until it's even.
Why?
Okay. Wait, why not?
We're all okay with an amendment,
right? We should all be okay with that, right?
Yeah, they don't agree. They do the same thing.
The fact that the Republicans don't immediately say yes, of course, shows the partisan hackery. That's it. It's all about partisan politics.
No, let's talk about partisan. Hold on, let's talk about
partisan hackery.
Then why won't you grant it?
The reason why I won't grant it.
So the court packing thing. The thing is that one, I agree that if they blocked a pick, the thing is that would be a method by trying to get something through. One, I believe it was already unconstitutional for them to not do it. The question is, what the fuck do you want us to do about it? And the answer is, I'm sorry, you should have brought it to the Supreme Court. There's plenty of things you could have done, but you didn't do them. And the idea that goes, I therefore destroy everything. You're right. You could pack the court.
Go to the Supreme Court to regulate their own Supreme Court pick for the political.
Wait a second. So you agree that it was unconstitutional for the Senate not to give an up or down vote on a nominee. Given that it was unconstitutional, how could you possibly say that
True.
that action, which was unconstitutional, is better or less problematic than doing something that's constitutional?
No.
That is, wait, no, we're going to get an answer to this.
Sure.
How
I'm
is
gonna give you
doing
the
something?
answer.
No, sorry. I need to get an answer to this. He just said that it would be unconstitutional for the Senate not to give that vote. However, you must agree, Zetsu, that it's constitutional to expand the court. Explain to me why doing something that's unconstitutional with respect to the court is not destroying the court, but doing something that's constitutional is destroying the court.
Okay, Zetsu, I'll give you a chance to answer, but if you don't
Sure.
get the right answer, I'm going to give him the right answer. There's a right answer to this, but go ahead, Zetsu.
Okay, no. So one, it is. So no, I don't think it's constitutional. However, I'm not the one who gets to fucking decide that. They decided apparently it was constitutional, and I accept the fact that
I'm
lose.
asking you.
I know. I just said it wasn't. You're saying yes. Just because something's unconstitutional doesn't mean it's automatically
Holy
worse
shit!
than something
Please
that is
just answer the
constitutional. I don't know where does that
Weird.
dichotomy
That's
come
the
in?
answer, because we
Weird.
don't decide what we want to happen, right? Morality is upstream of laws. Like, just because something is constitutional or
Critics are in case of the
unconstitutional doesn't
opposition
make
are
it
acting
right
against
or
American interests
wrong.
and supporting
If
foreign
something is
actions and terrorism.
constitutional,
No. Who are you counting as the opposition? I mean,
allowed by
you could-
constitutional,
I
it
mean,
can still be horrific
yeah.
and bad. Whereas
Wait.
something might be unconstitutional, but
That's
in
what
certain
that's what Biden would do if he was based. He would every college that had a pro-Palestine encampment, he drone strike that shit.
circumstances, it might be something like, okay, there's
criminal immunity.
It's not necessarily
So I don't
wrong.
want to hear about structural
Constitutional or unconstitutional does
And Tim Pool, Welly's live. Drone strike
not matter to the morality of the
He's
thing.
a foreign agent.
Pisco, do you agree that it would be constitutional for them to amend back in slavery? It would be
Yes,
constitutional.
it would be
So
constitutional.
do you think you would prefer they do that?
So many
than
people
not do
hi,
Garland? So
chat.
you could go,
What's
I
up,
get Garland,
Ness?
but we bring slavery
I don't
back.
support slavery. I don't support slavery.
No,
But-
hold on. The answer is
Pisco, answer this.
Well, I absolutely will answer this. Do you think I'm scared of your
You heard me
dumbass
then.
questions? Wait, so I'm not scared of your questions at all. But you guys are making a
I don't think
structural argument that will destroy the institution of the court. That is not, as I understand it, a morality argument. If it's just open, moralities on the table, then now we can talk about results. Now we can talk about realism. Now we can talk about the immunity decision. You've opened up Pandora's box to talk about any result that we want. But if you're specifically talking about the structure, the integrity, the lawfulness, you're destroying norms, then absolutely the Constitution looms large over all of those. They are the upstream of what we consider to be our norms, our structures, our integrities. So no, your entire line of questioning is fucking stupid because your argumentation is based on integrity, structure of our systems. I believe both Stephen and I think that this judiciary, this Supreme Court, has run amok, and that the recent decisions are absolutely,
Wait,
to
so they're
the
more
birds.
powerful than the executive right now?
All of them? Do
No,
you
no,
call
no,
them-
No. You made a claim, Pisco, that we should be
no.
more scared of an executive run amok
That
than
is
a
correct.
judiciary run amok.
That is
However,
correct.
if the claim is that the judiciary currently is running amok and running roughshod over the executive, so they need to be reined in,
No.
why?
Listen,
No, wait. If a judge tells you that he wants to kill you, then fuck him. Walk out. Who cares? If a police officer shows up and he says he wants to kill you, you're dead. That's the difference. The executive run amok with unchecked power is very scary. A judiciary unchecked is also scary. But like the executive, we have evidence of Donald Trump doing all the things that conservatives pretend that Democrats are going to do. Of asking his DOJ, going on to Fox News and saying the DOJ needs to be indicting people, of trying to pressure
I
people.
agree
like
with you.
Jeff
That's why I'm
Sessions.
not. That's why I'm voting Harris. I agree with that.
To influence every single thing, every hypothetical thing that conservatives worried about a Democrat doing, the Republicans have already done it. But for some reason, they're not worried about him continuing to do it with even more sycophantic administrators, right? Like it doesn't make any sense whatsoever other than partisan hackery. Why do you think that's happening?
Because I think that
That's
they've
why.
been.
It's because conservatives are. You
Best
literally have a
viewer,
president.
it's
You
best
have a
viewer.
president or an
Oh,
ex-president
so
who's
many
running
best
who doesn't
viewer
even
bots.
believe in the
Let's
results
go.
of the last election. Conservatives have nobody to blame but themselves.
Bro, are you kidding me? We have a president right now that keeps telling us the economy's good. Inflation's at an all-time high.
God.
We have all this other shit.
Yeah, those are definitely comparable, dude. Yeah, saying the economy is good is comparable to repeatedly, knowingly lying about election fraud. Dude, that's so comparable, dude. Especially when in the inflation's at an all-time high, bitch. And first of all, that's not true. I think it's at like a 40-year high, but I think he said all-time high.
Bro, are you kidding me? We have a president right now that keeps telling us the economy's good. Inflation's at an all-time high.
God.
All-time high is not true at all. The stagflation in the 70s was much worse than this.
We
But
have all this
okay.
other shit going on. Like you go to the
All this other shit. Okay, all he said was inflation. By the way, inflation's at like 2.6%. So and that's with owner's equivalent rent, which we probably shouldn't even be measuring because rent lags.
Gibbs.
wait, like between Donald Trump and then packing the court.
Donald Trump trying to circumvent the Constitution or undermine the Constitution, or Biden trying to pack the court. What do you think is a greater threat?
Biden threat packing the court.
You're a piece of shit.
No, he's retarded. Okay, Lactoid. What do you think is the bigger threat?
Well, that's okay. You can think that.
I don't think either of them are particularly credible
No,
threats.
I asked what's the bigger threat. The guy who's tweeting constantly about undermining the Constitution.
In
Wait,
terms of-
wait.
wait.
He's gonna let everyone answer this. I promise.
shit.
But that
Can I
he's
answer
going
the
around.
question? Can I answer the question?
Did Trump create a new norm when he went on and he tweeted about undermining the Constitution? Was that creating a new norm?
I criticize that. Yes, it is a problem. Yes, it is a problem, and I've criticized
that. That's not what he asked at all, but okay.
Times. I'll go into fucking communities of right-wingers, and I'll argue with them about that particular point. Or when I'm having a discussion, someone brings it up. Yeah, that was really fucking bad. You know what I think Trump did that's terrible? Trump proposed banning burning the flag. Terrible fucking proposal. Horrible. Why does he keep doing this? I'm opposed to that too. Like, if we want to say what Trump does this, that's bad. We can keep going down that. We can keep pointing out particular things that I disagree with when it comes to Trump. But I want to point out how fair I'm being on this, because what I just said was, when I'm talking about the threat of packing the court, I specified Kamala Harris was making those threats. It is much more difficult for me to find anything about Joe Biden specifically threatening to pack the courts. I don't think that he's done it in the same way that Kamala Harris has. I think Kamala Harris is a bigger threat when it comes to packing the courts than Joe Biden is.
Is there support in the Senate, or is there support in Congress right now for packing the court? Is that even a thing?
I don't know if there would be.
Yeah, I think if you Democrats vote for it. Yeah,
I think okay. So we have Pisco who thinks so. I do think that there's political obstacles in the same way of
they should do it. I think so.
In the same way, Trump becoming a dictator. I think there's political obstacles in place, which is a good thing.
Hold on, Pisco, are you also for ending the filibuster?
It is a risk.
Of course, I'm for ending the filibuster.
God. Okay, we'll have another discussion.
Just look at it.
We break all the norms. We break all the norms, and then when the Democrats want to reestablish their own prominence,
what is the pro filibuster argument?
Go by the rules that you set, which is the rules don't matter, the norms don't matter. You start crying and saying, "But what about?" Stop it. We're not going to play.
Other than wanting to filibuster when your side's on our power, so you can
double standard bullshit. Where we have to be the ones constantly defending our institutions and norms, and for you guys to nominate someone like Trump, someone who is so absolutely anathema to the norms and institutions of this country. There's no world in which I'm going to hew to that double standard. None, zero. As long as what we're doing is constitutional.
We can do it too. We're going to go down together. Mutually assured destruction. Let's burn it down together, baby. We don't care as long as they lose. We don't have to win. They just got to lose.
On principle, I don't even agree with the filibuster. I think the filibuster is a tool against democracy. I don't think it's a necessary thing.
The Senate is a tool against democracy. Look, the Senate and the Supreme Court are tools against democracy. Yes, they're by design to limit democracy. Yes, that's true.
And I think it's a tool. And I think it's a tool.
That's what the Bill of Rights is, baby. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all the amendments are limits on democracy.
Far too much
Why even have a Senate? Just have a House. You're so much more democratic.
So I the Supreme Court.
So hang on a second. I do believe in such. I do believe in. I do believe in constitutional republic. I do believe in constitutional republic. I do believe in constitutional republic. I do believe in the judiciary. I do believe that we ought to have two chambers of House and a lower house. So that's all. That is all fine. But you acting as though the filibuster is some ingrained constitutional principle. It's not. It's a rule of the Senate. And you acting as though packing the court is anathema to our Constitution. It's not. It's an explicit power given to the Congress. And you're acting as though. You're acting as though.
Dude, how are you going to tell you the same thing?
So you're acting as though. You're acting as though. Going back. You're acting as though. 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 You're acting as though.
God damn, bro! You sound like it's today, Junior. Come on.
Well, I would finish quicker if you didn't stop interrupting. Is that a fair principle?
I've been waiting on you here. Listen, I wasn't the one
interrupting. That's what she said.
Did I say
hold on, let's just go get it out. Let's go get it out.
Keep on, just go ahead.
Everything that I'm envisioning is completely constitutional. Everything that I'm envisioning would help increase the responsiveness of our republic and would not intrude on the principles laid down by our framing fathers, who explicitly left this to the discretion of the houses on how they're going to run their procedures. I think that the filibuster is an absolutely insane rule in this time, this day and age, and we're given far too much leeway to this Supreme Court, as packed by Mitch McConnell, to have the fiat over our country at the moment. So absolutely,
I know what removing the filibuster for judicial nominations a good thing.
I feel like I like panels.
100% removing the filibuster. You're talking about the initial one of lower federal. Yeah. All of that is complete. All of that is completely fine. The 60 vote threshold is completely stupid. I don't agree with that.
Things have gotten better from a.
Well, the alternative was infinitely filibustering. Do you think it's better to have dedicated federal courts?
No,
if you had to choose between, no, you can't choose the Nirvana. You have to choose between no federal judges.
Ryan, answer this question.
How are you not tired? I am fucking tired.
Answer what Destiny's asking.
What's a better world? No federal judges or breaking the filibuster and appointing federal judges?
I think what you need was a compromise.
Answer the question.
Oh, awesome answer, dude.
Right. No, wait. Wait. Make him answer the question. Wait. Make him answer the question. Would you prefer a world in that situation of no nominations and appointments of lower federal courts or breaking the filibuster? Which would you prefer, Ryan? Answer the question.
I think
I'll answer.
this made things worse.
Ryan, answer the question. Which world is preferable?
I am not. You're not my interlocutor. I do not.
You're such a scaredy cat. Answer the question.
Pisco, which would you rather? Would you rather get beaten up constantly or get a cookie? Answer the question. Make a decision, right? Like obviously one's better than the other.
Get beaten up or eat a cookie. No one.
Answer. This was the choice presented. Wait, this is not some crazy hypothetical. This was the choice presented. This was the choice. Wait, Ryan. This was the choice presented to the Senate Democrats. The choice was break the filibuster or no federal court appointees. And what I'm asking you is, what would you have done?
I think they made a mistake. I think it helped them short term, and then what it led to was getting rid of the filibuster for Supreme Court nominations. And that, while it solved a short term problem, has had the unintended consequence of making the legitimacy of the system worse. And
so, is the answer the preferable?
Why is one of your bridges under sewage? Nah, bro.
So, these things make it worse. So yes, they solved.
Wait, which bridge is under sewage?
And it solved it.
I didn't think my bridges are under sewage.
Which world is preferable? Which world was preferable?
Flood sometimes.
So I think they
which world was preferable, Ryan? I'm not an idiot. Why don't you answer it with a backbone? I asked you, is it preferable to have none of your judicial appointees ever considered or to break the filibuster? That's the question. Which world is preferable? No, I'd like you to answer the question. Which world?
I'm talking about
this isn't 2 times speed. This is 1.25 times speed.
Why don't you answer it in the frame that I'm presenting it?
Because I do not.
Because you're scared. Yeah, because you're scared. Because you're scared. Because you have no backbone. And the truth is, you understand how ridiculous it sounds. You understand how ridiculous it sounds.
You understand the scenario presenting. It's like, hey, would you rather smash Oprah with herpes or like Gorlock the Destroyer with AIDS? Like, that's what you're doing, but you can't sit there and go, you're scared for not answering that whenever you're just presenting it.
The frustrating thing is it always feels like Democrats are the ones that have to consider the practical consequences of what's going on, and we're the ones that have to come to the table to negotiate. But when it comes to Republicans, it's this rote appeal to either whatever the laws or the norms at the time, and it doesn't really matter. They're not expected to come to the table on fucking anything. So when you have one side that's constantly allowed to either erode norms or break laws, then fine, that's okay. But then when the table is turned back to the Democrats, well, now we have to let the fucking children, the retarded toddlers, come back to the table.
You are correct in that it is super frustrating and that it is a problem, but the adults need
But I won't do nothing about it.
If we only act like the children, it doesn't solve the thing. It doesn't solve it.
It is not an adult decision when you're trying to decide how fast to go on the interstate and you split the decision democratically between you and your 1-year-old child in the back seat. That's not an adult decision. And that's the issue that we have right now, is the Republicans try to destroy the country over and over again. It's like, well, we need to be
I'm not letting them take the wheel. What I'm asking is we don't show them like, oh, you think that's bad? Look what I
what would you have done? What would you have done? Would you say, all right, I guess no more lower federal court appointees?
I reject the framing because I was an adult. I was in my
nice to be able to reject reality. Well,
that wasn't reality, right? That wasn't reality.
Wick. The reality was they were not letting through lower federal court appointments. That is the reality.
They had other things that they. Do you think every single judicial nominee was blocked? Every single one? No. Obviously, we can look back at it. There were people getting through.
Judicial appointments in the past 3 decades in one term for Obama. McConnell already said he was going to make him a 1-term president.
What are you saying? Sorry.
Single judicial nominee was blocked. Every single one? No. Obviously, we can look back at it. There were people getting through.
Judicial appointments in the past 3 decades in 1 term for Obama. McConnell already said he was going to make him a 1-term president. He didn't want to pass anything. Yes, that was the point.
But he passed things. Judicial nominations got through.
And only after the nuclear option did we get federal court appointments.
So Wick, you're telling me you wouldn't have done the nuclear option then?
No, because it's led to a worse world. Because you decided, hey, this is the only way forward. We have to do it to save America. And look where we.
Wait. I feel like that's total. I feel like doing the nuclear option in response to that is totally fair. I don't know. Okay.
We are today. Thank you for that. That was a dumbass decision.
That we're finally able to do federal court things. Yes.
Insane. It's absolutely insane.
Look,
the idea that I'm sure, Wick, would you support? Did you support them getting rid of the Supreme Court filibuster?
No.
No. I'll ask Lactoid. Would you be okay with them? Sorry, were you okay with them?
I wish we had it because then we wouldn't have a 6-3 to court.
Wait, Lactoid.
Just to be clear, I don't have this is a subject I can't talk on. I don't have any idea.
You have no idea whether you would have been in support of getting rid of the Supreme Court filibuster.
No, can we give that some respect? Because I honestly, this is one of my pet issues. I think the world would be a much better place if we didn't force people to have opinions on things when they say they don't have an opinion.
Hold on. I'll look into it and get back to you.
If he says he doesn't have an opinion, he doesn't look into it.
The whole premise of this argument has been that the Democrats unleashed Pandora's box when they got rid of the nuclear option.
Do you think I'm excusing Republicans here? Hold on, no, shut up. All of you shut up because, again, I've got to be quick. If you think I'm excusing Republicans' bad actions here, you're dead wrong. Republicans are more responsible for this.
No, they're not. Democrats, there is no responsibility with no accountability, and you're against accountability, so there's no responsibility.
No, I'm not against accountability. I'm against the forms of accountability that you have proposed. which is
any form of accountability. Here's a question. Here's a super simple question. Can you think of one compromise? If we all need to come to the table and be adults, what's one compromise the Republicans have made that's the equivalent of the Gore-Bush election of 2000? What's one compromise that they've made that's the equivalent of the Garland robbery?
What do you think? How do you think the Gore-Bush election was decided? Was it a compromise between politicians or was it a judicial ruling?
It was the Supreme Court.
Yes,
absolutely.
The Supreme Court doesn't compromise like that. They make rulings. It's a different thing.
Can you give me one example?
You're welcome.
No, it's not. No, to be clear, it's not. Okay, because the Democrats walked away from that election, and that was
a fucking compromise.
Donald Trump. Who do you think accepted the results of the election?
Yes, as any red-blooded American do. Look, Trump is a threat to democracy. I agree with you on that, right? Huh?
You know that today, 80% of Republicans think the last election was still not procedurally fucked, not COVID fucked, but thought there was voter fraud, mass
and
voter
that's
fraud.
80%. A huge fucking problem. It's a huge fucking problem. A third of the Democrats think that the Republican assassination or the attempted assassination attempt on Trump was staged.
Not even remotely the same thing. Not even remotely the same thing. Not number one, but number
two. Outside of reality.
I mean, one of them, there was visual evidence they watched happen and still denied it.
It's not even remotely. I want an example from anybody on this panel where Republicans have been forced to compromise when they've been in a position of power or to do otherwise. A single time. Just one example.
Trump,
20 years, 25 years of
during
government.
the Trump years that Mitch McConnell did. Trump tried to pressure and force McConnell to get rid of the filibuster when he was trying to get through his legislation passed, and the Democrats were using the filibuster over and over and over and over and over again to stop that dog shit legislation from coming through. So, you know what? McConnell was like, no, we're not going to do that, and he stood up against Trump, and he compromised, right, and said, no, we're going to keep this in place. We're not going to do that. Boom. There you go.
That's the Republican Party fighting against their own president. I'm asking about the compromise.
That's him compromising with Trump, not with the Democratic Party. But
they were doing that in a compromise with the Democrats, right?
They're compromising with themselves because Donald Trump's destroying the Republican Party. I'm asking, when have the Republicans ever compromised to the Democrats or with the Democrats?
Yeah, I think Wick's example is actually perfect, right? That happened was specifically because
the Democrats were doing a procedure. They were filibustering. They were acting in
the filibustering Democrats.
You guys have lost your minds. You think
this is just the fucking facts, Pisco?
No.
You think facts of the matter?
When the Republicans were debating with themselves, they compromised. So that's kind of like a compromise.
You think McConnell preserved the filibuster out of principle? Are you insane?
Do you think he didn't?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. He did.
Okay. Yes, because Republicans are all bad actors. They can't do anything without principles. They are all.
McConnell is a bad actor.
100%
McConnell is a bad actor. 100%.
Even bad actors don't have principles.
I don't know. At this point, it's gotta be like at least 20% of the Republican Party. That's fucking. I mean, elected people. The actual the supporters of the Republican Party is probably more like 80%. That are all bad actors.
McConnell preserved the filibuster.
Bad actor, but he had principles when he stood up against Trump during January 6th. Absolutely.
McConnell preserved the filibuster for the same reason he does. And you know what? Guess who McConnell supports now? Say it. Yeah, I will. I just want Wick to say it.
McConnell supports Trump. Yes.
Yeah. So what good that was?
Do you think that compromising with Democrats? Do you think that compromising with Democrats means that you reject Trump just wholeheartedly?
But this was no compromise. What you're talking about is a tactic by McConnell, not to do something out of principle, but out of self-interest. He didn't need to break the filibuster to do what they wanted. What they wanted was tax breaks for the rich.
Trump needed him to break the filibuster to do what Trump wanted, and that's why Trump pressured him to do it. And then McConnell said no.
So what McConnell wanted for his own self-interest was lowering taxes on billionaires and on rich people.
Shit, bro.
And when it didn't suit him, he did break the filibuster for Supreme Court picks. So everything you're saying is opposite.
Clearly, the
solution only operated in his own self-interest to the extent that there would have been some tension from Trump. It was McConnell putting his own agenda first. So everything you're talking about is complete garbage.
The Supreme Court was to get back at Harry Reid as a tit for tat. It was wrong. He should have done it. He should not have done it.
The legislative filibuster.
Again, the same thing in kind of what you're advocating for when you say we got to get them back for what they did. Right? We got to court pack.
Here's the question for you, Wick.
You're being McConnell right now. You are doing and behaving in the same way that McConnell does.
Do you think that if McConnell...
Are you principled, sir?
Do you think that if McConnell thought it was in his own interest and his party's interest to get rid of the legislative filibuster, that he wouldn't have gotten rid of it?
But it was in his interest.
It wasn't. They'd already passed the tax cuts. They'd already gotten their Supreme Court picks. There was no interest in him doing it. Donald Trump is just a fucking retard. Donald Trump doesn't know what the three branches of government do. Okay? Donald Trump is just complaining to him that he wanted the filibuster option gone for no fucking reason. McConnell didn't have the votes in his own party to get rid of it. It wasn't impeding their progress on anything. They'd already gotten all the shit that they wanted done, essentially. Like, no, it wasn't going to benefit.
And to the extent they didn't, it was because they had defections in their own party. It was because of Murkowski and Collins.
Well, that's why we had the filibuster today is because of defections in the Democrats' own party.
No, but it wasn't.
Yes, that's true. Because it wasn't what's his fucking
name? It wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem of getting 51 votes in terms of the Affordable Care Act getting repealed. They couldn't even get 50 votes. So at no point was Mitch McConnell's agenda at risk because of the filibuster in such a way that he would have an incentive to get rid of it. It was all internal interest. You are so naive. Do you think Mitch McConnell that is like somehow hewed in by principle or the dedication to the filibuster? It's so naive.
look, the respecting of senatorial norms, such as they are, is one of McConnell's key points in ways of doing things. To the extent that he has broken
You're so wrong. When they tried to repeal the ACA, they lost by 2 votes, 49 to 51.
Okay.
They changed norms there to repeal the ACA. Because that was the thing they wanted to do. And they tried to change the filibuster rules there in order to do it.
And they wanted budget reconciliation. They were doing all sorts of wacky shit.
When it suits them, they'll do it, yes. But you can't say, well, there's legislation that we've got 30 votes for in the Senate. Well, let's keep the filibuster in. Wow, they're so principled. Oh my God, look at how principled they are.
You
keeping the filibuster. They have 30 votes.
That's not an example, Wick. That's not an example. There's no incentive for them to break the filibuster.
Any example I can give you that you would accept. You would change the goalpost. You would
not that one. There's
the ideas, right?
Republicans are never expected. They're never expected. They're never expected to concede. They're never expected to compromise because Republicans are the insane fucking dude in the padded cell that you're asking us to go on a walk with. Republicans do not compromise ever on
anything. That's true. I can give you an example from the Trump administration where they're trying to compromise. HR 6136, which the Border Security Immigration Reform Act, they actually wanted to get everything plus some to what the Dems had basically in the most recent immigration reform bill, and Dems were going to get, and Republicans were going to get the wall. The only thing they didn't have was the Dreamers, and guess what? The Dreamers didn't even get added to the most recent Reform Act, and so they shut it down on this thing because basically the Trump base revolted, even though they were trying to compromise on that stuff because they didn't want the Dreamers. And
also look at the COVID. COVID relief stimulus checks. That was also a compromise.
Let us address what Gibbs just said.
So they took that. Yeah, they took the Dreamers out.
What's the demise was failing to pass.
But here's my
what's the compromise you're pointing to? You're pointing to like a failed situation.
No, hold on. So here's the compromise: is what got presented.
What was the compromise of the COVID stimulus even?
You everything plus more. I think like the last one had 300 judges. This one had 5. So it had everything they wanted.
Immigration judges.
Yes, yeah, plus some. If you want to go through the bill, and so they compromised everything except for the Dreamers because they ended up getting the Trump base revolted. And Schumer said, "Well, if you don't put the Dreamers in there, no, no compromise."
You understand? Okay, wait.
Hold on. Well, let me finish. Listen to you. Hold on. Even though they compromised,
what's the COVID stimulus thing? What's that? Didn't Biden originally want to do like a $2,000 check, and then they negotiated it down to like $1,400 because they had already given $600 to people or whatever.
Everything else the Dems wanted, they're like, this is a sticky point, which they didn't even follow through with under the most recent immigration bill they put forth. So
it's a great.
Yeah, $1,400. Because it was $600 per. Okay.
Republicans compromising and Dems not.
It's a great point for us, and really, I owe you like $1,000 at this point.
Are you retarded? Whenever they compromise,
hold up! No, if anyone's gonna get money, it's gonna be me. This is the principle I will hold on to.
You compromise 9 to 10 things, and you don't compromise on one. Are you giving willing compromise? That should be dishonest. What you're doing right now.
Who controlled the houses of Congress at the time that was being considered?
I'm sure the Republicans did based off your response. If that's what you want.
Of course they did. They controlled both houses. Of course they did.
Hold on, we say they control both houses, but there were times where they couldn't even have the majority speaker role in the House. So did Republicans really control it? Who the fuck knows? Who knows who was in control in the House? Actually, I don't know.
What you're pointing to is the failure by Donald Trump. The failure of Donald Trump.
Schumer shot it down. So let's just get that clear.
The Democrats were willing to fund a border wall in exchange for some pathway to citizenship for the Dreamers.
Everything, they got everything but that.
What you're pointing to...
I don't know anything about this bill they're talking about.
And you said it yourself in your entire thing was that Trump balked when the base turned against him. And he once again listened to the base.
And they said, hold on, and this is the kicker. They said, okay, we compromised all this other stuff. Dems wouldn't budge on that. Guess what? Here comes the next time it comes around. Did y'all remember the Dreamers then? No, y'all all remember the Dreamers was convenient, even though we were willing to compromise with everything else.
Are you talking about the recent bill?
Wait, this is a bill that 121 Republicans supported in favor of, okay? That most of them supported, or most of them voted against. What are we even trying to say here?
She's where they compromised.
No, but they
compromised
themselves. They didn't pass it because
everything but the Dreamers. Y'all got everything but the Dreamers, and y'all still balked.
If they wanted border wall funding,
even if it's a drop in the funding. Oh, okay,
they controlled everything. They wanted
y'all were holding a gun. It was an internal shoe on the other foot. Y'all don't want to sit here and take y'all's lumps and admit y'all were being obstructionists. That's exactly
okay. Hold on,
you control Congress.
Oh, hey, we can do it.
Okay, you can spend this.
I gotta make a little money. I gotta read these super chats, and then we gotta go because I got things to take care of. I will host a part 2 of this panel, though. I will reach out to you all. We can continue this discussion. It'll be great, right? But it's not gonna be today because people need to go. People need.
I just want to say I love everybody. I'm sorry. I get really heated.
I know it's good content, but
Ryan,
for now,
I'm sorry. I shouldn't apologize because I am very mad at you.
And I disavow Pisco's apology.
And I actually like Lactoid, but I'm mad at him too. And you know what, Gib? I actually like him. Is that soon? I'm just kidding. I like all you guys. I love this country. I love this Constitution.
So we should get a beer.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll all go out to get a beer. Look, let me fucking read these. Let me make my money. Let me give you all closing statements, and we can host a part 2 of this another day. But I do have to go. I'm going to go through these rapid fire real quick, and then we'll go. Parallax, $5. Tell Gibbs to wake up or shut up.
I don't know if I care.
DJ 22606 for $20. If presidents are entitled to immunity from crimes, again.
Good. Because I'm learning you all today. I'm learning.
Is more scary than legitimacy of the court.
It's about opportunity.
I know we all
are.
He's giving me money, so he's my best friend.
Because I know you would be allowed to not be on camera.
I didn't weaponize the DOJ more. The guy who went
Are
on
these
TV.
closings or are these
No, but I don't
super
have
chats?
I don't have like a skill.
Why do you dress like Sub-Zero?
Because I was told I had to be on camera.
Pretending there was no reason for the filibuster, no judges was better. $50.
Artemis Fowl, by the way, I just want to say this, is barely literate. I can't even understand these like super chats. He's like,
he's giving me money, so he's my best friend.
Also, for the Republicans, do we more? What a waste of fucking time.
True. Pisco wasn't on the panel. Yeah, Pisco wasn't on it. Don't worry. No, I think this is something that the Republican Party has intervened to try to like protect these third-party candidates.
Okay, these closings.
So when Jill Stein is J. Moore, when he tried to give them explicit, Ryan and
you're allowed to not be on camera.
Maybe he's still losing COVID regulations. Pisco, you piece of shit, Sco. Ryan and Lactoid. Who tried to weaponize the DOJ more? The guy who went on TV. Is there any examples of the Democrats? Are there any examples of the Democrats weaponizing the courts like Donald Trump tried to do with his own Department of Justice?
Like that specifically, I can't think of it.
No, not like that specifically. Where a Democrat wants to Pisco fucked all of his verbiage up because he doesn't know what the fuck he's saying in Spanish. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And you got to fight fire with fire. And there was a lot of fighting with fire advocated for on this panel today. And the rule of law.
I'm seriously worried about the future of our republic and the fact for decisions. I guess the last thing.
Views, but I see like 60 likes. What is going on? No, like that fucking stream, okay? Do that right now. We got some great shows coming up, but I want to give each and every person here
closings.
And we're gonna start with Lactoid. We're gonna end with Destiny. So Lactoid, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at LactoidTV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I guess the last thing I'm going to say is it was brought up multiple times during this discussion that, well, we're stuck with this now. Like, the damage has been done. And again, like I've reiterated multiple times, the process that Mitch McConnell did, I don't agree with. That being said, this Supreme Court is one of the best we've ever had. And, there's analyses on this, like originalist justices. They're more likely to disagree with each other. They're more likely to actually to write longer decisions. They're more likely to, in my opinion, actually believe in the rule of law and actually believe in what does law mean.
Isn't that they're more likely to disagree with each other and write longer opinions? Isn't that indicative of divisiveness? Probably because Supreme Court picks have become more partisan over time. Have become more partisan. I've seen some graphs on this before, like the margin to which Supreme Court justices have been confirmed has gotten pretty partisan. Yeah, the cases are becoming more polarized. Supreme Court. Look at that spelling.
As opposed to engage in political hackery. And we see this constantly, right? We have Neil Gorsuch, side with the quote-unquote liberals when the Constitution demands it. And frankly, I agree with Gorsuch on the Oklahoma decision. I think that he was correct there. I think ultimately the Supreme Court's great. Definitely don't pack it. God, please don't pack it. And if it gets packed, I'm seriously worried about the future of our republic. And the fact that I think Kamala Harris is so flippant about packing it.
But he doesn't care if Trump gets elected.
About whether or not she'd be a good president.
Or at least not enough to...
Thank you for being here. The links to all the guests that were planned and not packed in.
I guess he said he might vote Libertarian.
Ryan,
we'll
please.
see.
Don't stream, but you can follow me on Twitter, Ryan C. Mullally with an obnoxious number of L's. Nice meeting everyone. Peace, always fun to argue with you. So see you again. I was saying this before, but I think when they look at this second half of this panel, viewers might be confused why we weren't talking about court reform almost at all. But other than that, this conversation kind of struck me like, when you watch like a Greek tragedy and you're like, well, wouldn't it just stop if they just stopped killing each other in these vendettas? Like, why are they doing this? Everyone's going to end up dead. And at the end of this conversation, you got the rule of law and the legitimacy of law bleeding on the floor, and everyone's wondering, why didn't they just stop? And I was struck by the fact that before I got on this panel, I watched a little bit of the Trump interview on Lex Friedman's podcast. And Lex asked him, you call people communists, but they're not communists. And Trump said, well, they call me worse. They call me fascist, and you got to fight fire with fire. And there was a lot of fighting with fire advocated for on this panel today. And I
feel like the Republicans have been calling Democrats communist way before they ever called Republicans fascist. I mean, at least Trump, because Trump specifically wasn't a political figure until more recently. I feel like Democrats have been fighting the communist allegations since the Red Scare, dude. I don't know, like since the fucking FDR, like what.
Didn't have Trump and Destiny Destiny and Pisco agreeing with Trump on tactics on my bingo card when this started. Ultimately, I think if we want to enhance the rule of law, we should do things that enhance the rule of law. And if you're proposing something that has a political benefit, but delegitimizes the rule of law, you should ask yourself, is this something that I should be doing? And if we all did that, it would be better. Is it idealistic? Maybe. I don't know. But I certainly left this panel feeling pretty good about my decision to be politically homeless. Because
I don't know, price controls and unrealized gain tax seem very commie.
Who's doing the worst thing?
Very commie. First of all, Kamala didn't even advocate for like strict price controls. She just said like anti-price gouging stuff. Like it's vague what she even wants. And like I don't like an unrealized gain tax, but I want to call it commie. It's not communist. Like it's a cringe type of taxation.
Rather than what would be the better thing. And I'm speaking long, but the most telling example of that possible is that Destiny, who is not a political candidate, came in with a proposed reform that pretty much everyone agreed was a good idea in some version. There's some debate, and has been proposed by no candidate. It's not like we're so smart that we came up with this and the lawyers on their teams haven't. It's not being proposed because taking the way towards legitimizing the system is not either party's goal. And that's the bummer right now. That's the Greek tragedy. That's why everyone dies at the end.
Well, hopefully we can avoid that. Check him out, gang. I put a link to his Twitter in my YouTube description. That's way, please.
Yeah, I kind of checked out there. But even to your little hypothetical, like we're all Greek tragedy, the fact is, from Pisco and Destiny's standpoint, the fact is, if Republicans just keep stabbing you, the answer is like, let's not stab back.
Ruin the capitalist class by eroding their wealth and power.
Just destroy you.
Do you actually believe that, or are you trolling? I can't tell. Do you think Kamala Harris is like a secret communist and they want to erode their power by taxing their unrealized gains at 3% per year? That's gonna be the blow to them. When other countries literally have like full on, not just unrealized gain taxes, but actual full on like wealth taxes, like Norway has a wealth tax, although I think it's relatively low. I think it's like less than 1%. That's gonna be when like Sweden has like top marginal rates of like 70%. An unrealized gain tax is gonna be the thing that moves us to socialism. That's gonna be.
You sit there and take it. And so, but yeah, no, I mean,
when
like,
Sweden,
obviously, kind of went off the rails there.
Fucking Norway aren't even socialist.
I'm not a streamer. Just has to be here by Lactoid. Just a fan of Pisco and Destiny mostly, but yeah, they're
and we love him.
And I just Pisco. I guess
you're trolling.
Your conversation you had with we shouldn't go. I was just saying your conversation. I feel like the one you had with such an Adam, like they exemplified what I feel like you did in this call. It feels like you talk for 5 minutes, demand a one-word answer, and then you call the person a liar if they don't like the answer they give, and then you talk for another 5 minutes. I just feel like I don't know. But I realize your passion. I realize you're angry about this, but yeah, no, sorry, I'll stop it.
He refused to give me links to his stuff, so I don't have links for him. Yes, give us what you got.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, I feel like this is just another case of cope from the Dems. You know, they put forth a strategy, they got outplayed in the situation, and now they want to take the ball and go home. It's typical participation trophy bullshit. You know, I mean, even half the panel we argued about tit for tat and quid pro quo, and they did this, so is this a fair compromise replacement if we get this back? It was just a lot of like whining and weeping and gnashing of teeth, and I think it's pretty clear that's exactly what that was. You know, we can argue about like all this, you know, in the weeds shit about it, but it's clearly just a case of like forced to pay tax shit. I mean, especially
it's an unrealized gain tax above 100 million too. So like it wouldn't even. I guess if it's up 30,000%, then maybe you would reach that 30 million. 100 million mark.
We just had at the rally, Dana Bash admitting that, hey, we're not the party of testosterone-laden men, we're the party of the betas. Like, so, you know, passive-aggressive tactics, that's what I come to expect from the Dems. So, you know, part of the course. If you like what I have to say, you can find me at AdmiralGibbs on pretty much every platform, Twitch, Kick, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Check it out. It'll be good times. We do a lot of fun stuff.
Links in my YouTube description. Last but certainly not least, Destiny, please.
Wait. Don't I go first?
Pisco, you don't get a spot here. You were a last-minute ad.
I don't get a closing statement?
No!
Pisco is bitch made, okay? Fake lawyer. He never sent proof, by the way, for his legal flair. Apparently Cybervegan gave it to him, okay? Because he
sent
him cocaine from his home country. Okay, no. The frustrating thing is that when you're a Democrat, it feels like Republicans never have to account for anything. When every time a Democrat enters office, okay, it's on the backs of a destroyed fucking economy, all right? Whether it was 2007 and the housing crisis and Obama coming in, whether it was 2020 and the COVID that Trump denied.
What do you think of Elon's unrealized gains? What do you mean what I think of them?
All right, that Biden had to come in off of. The Republicans are never held to account for a single thing they ever do. And this idea that the Democrats are the frogs swimming and the Republicans are the scorpion stabbing over and over and over again, and people are saying, well, we have to come to the table and negotiate. We have to come to the table and negotiate. In no other circumstance in life would you ever say this, okay? Appeasement didn't work with Hitler, and giving a crying child a candy bar after candy bar, okay, doesn't make the child less of a sport. So at some point, somebody has to demonstrate to the Republicans that they can't play these types of games and expect that they can still have a seat at the table. Something has to give because the country is on like a one-way track to destruction, led by the fucking Republicans.
And the idea that we have to hitch our wagon to them to be the adults. First of all, it's not even clear. It's not even clear what type of all stocks crash. I mean, the unrealized gains tax would definitely, part of the reason I'm against it, would probably depending on how high it was and what it did, it would definitely lead to the selling off of stocks, and it could potentially temporarily crash the stock market temporarily. But it's not even clear how she would implement it, because she could be doing the deferral charge. It's not even clear it'd be a I forget the name for the alternative. What's the alternative? Unrealized gains tax deferral. No, but you're to pump something, then sell to crash it.
We all get sunk in some crazy mindfuck experiment where the current guy running for president doesn't even believe that the results of the last election are real, are fucking insane. At the end of the day, the only lesson you need to take is that if his Twitter account would have been fire enough, the current conservative establishment and all of the independents that support Trump would have supported the same with fucking Hitler, okay? As long as he owned the libs hard enough. And that standard is fucking absurd.
Gang, it was fun. I love you all.
You're serious. I don't get a closing statement.
Please go. Closing. Okay, this is.
Muchas gracias a todos por permitirme estar en el panel. Gracias a Gibbs por ser un agente secreto. I'm just kidding. No, I really.
Okay, enough. This is why I didn't want to give you.
No, okay. That was a joke. That was a joke. So to be 100% real.
Okay. Blah 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 blah. Retrospective capital gains taxation. Yeah, deferral charge. Alternative market also fixes the deferral bias is to add a deferral charge when new tax assets are sold, but charge interest for each year they weren't sold. Yes. See, okay. It's not like this. Probably would not. This is not nearly as bad as other types of unrealized gains tax.
I think that Steven is absolutely coping on the issue that he had at the end there with Lactoid. It was absolutely embarrassing for him to put words in Lactoid's mouth. Lactoid at no point said that it was the same kind of violation to use the instrumentalities of the digital system as to having a kind of litigant. He just said they were both bad. But Steven has this thing where he cannot give ground any time when his ego's at stake. Another example of that is the following. He claimed that cigarettes were price elastic. And then when I asked him how would I have to show that the demand for cigarettes are price inelastic, he said, I don't know, it'd be too complicated. It sounds like he just bullshitting at all times. It sounds like he doesn't really understand a lot of these concepts, and he'll just come in sounding as confident as possible. When you push a little bit, it shows that he made his
Quick question. You know what else is elastic?
What?
Your position on the panel. Okay, thanks. Thanks for joining us, gang. It was fun. Hit the like button. Watch me.
Fire. Did he actually say that cigarettes are price elastic? Basically, I mean, anything addictive is usually going to be price inelastic, right? Because it's addictive.
Goodbye.
That's how I was taught, at least.